I see Forbes live stream saying Trump is announcing they're moving U.S. Space Command HQ from Alabama to Colorado. Yes, but of course the content of this announcement is not what we're interested in. We're interested in the delivery. What an utterly trivial reason to break a week-long silence after such severe speculation about your health. Seriously, like, nothing for Labor Day, nothing for a mass shooting committed by a trans person. Uh, Here we are announcing an HQ move. Bureaucracy. Maybe it's pre-recorded. Genuinely possible. Let's see. Let's temper our expectations a little bit. Obviously, they're not going to walk him up there as a shambling corpse. But if they keep this announcement very perfunctory, you know what to look for. You know what to look for. Hey, give me a link. My hair is still very wet. I'm running around. What's the place with the links? What's the place with the government videos? Where is it? What's it called? C-SPAN, thank you. Well, we have an AP News live feed. Why is this tangled? All the linkers were silenced. In fairness, they do get ahead of themselves pretty often. That is the White House. Why is it white? Because the founding fathers were racist. Why am I so low down in the camera frame? I feel like every time I sit in this chair, I'm at a slightly different elevation than before, and I don't know why. Nope. White is the cheapest paint. Oh. It might be me, but you do seem a little quieter than usual as well. You have to hope that it's you, because I'm getting tired of hearing that, man. I'm getting tired of the audio kerfuffles, all right? Past the point, at some point, you just have to accept this is the audio of the stream. Man, look at that, like, perfect glare star right there. That's not a lens flare, right? No, a lens flare is when there's, like, refraction between the different panes of glass on a camera lens. This is just a flare, right? You wouldn't call it, or a glare. Yeah, you wouldn't call it a lens flare. Oh, damn, the setup looks just like the old one. I mean, I'm using the same parts, right? I got that furniture behind me from a really nice reclamation store. I'm not gonna toss that shit out just because I'm moving. How was the repair work yesterday? Not really repair work. I was just like doing chores. The chores were good. I was up until like 3:34 last morning, and I am very tired. I have not yet finished The Sopranos. I have one more season. How are the cats? I got woken up early this morning by River headbutting my face and meowing. Didn't take a, a genius to figure out what she wanted. Best alarm clock? I could have done with a little more sleep. Vosh, your VOD playlist was sorted in reverse from oldest to newest for a while, and I looked back and I cringed at your old videos. Yeah, well, funny thing is, okay, the reason it did that is because late last night I was talking to a friend of mine who's interested in streaming. You know, he's been doing some streaming himself, and I wanted to show him, like, hey, I know that I seem like I have my shit together. Check out how I was when I started. So I went to my VOD playlist, and what I looked for, I just searched Vosh on YouTube, right? Even though it's my channel. and I swapped it from newest to oldest to oldest to newest, and apparently that changes it for everyone else. Like, I just wanted to change the ordering for my purposes. I didn't mean to flip it for everyone. The subreddit was stressed. Stressed about what? Any predictions? I think it's unlikely that it's pre-recorded. Uh, I think that would be very difficult to pull off. Like, there will be people there in the press, like on the press floor. Um, and even if it was, I don't think we'd see evidence of it. I think this is going to be a very perfunctory announcement. My guess is that this announcement was something that had to happen anyway. And the reason they didn't announce it earlier and weren't more specific about it is because they were nervous about whether or not Trump is able to do it, and they're kind of soft pitching it. Does that make sense? Zoran Mamdani lied about the Muslims in Gujarat. Why don't you call him out for that? They don't make like discourse bait the way they used to. Why the fuck would you say something like that rings the red flag or that rings the alarm bells so loudly? What the fuck are you talking about? Using the internet and being a political figure gets so much easier when you realize that every single time you're having a conversation about Israel, white supremacy, white nationalism, or Islam, there's a 50% chance you're talking to an Indian. Once you realize that, once you accept it with all your mind, body, and heart, it all gets so much easier. Not to be racist or xenophobic, but there should be a separate internet for Indians. I have bad news for you. That is definitionally racist and xenophobic. Um, However, it is true that Indian people are the white people of India, if you catch my drift. Um, so it turns out there's a lot of white people out there, and that's a problem. India also line. You guys really like ran that in the ground, huh? Like, that was very specifically about people who are not from the prevailing ethnic or religious or racial group online, trying to buddy with people who hate them in the interest of some perceived sense of shared superiority. But now it's just anytime India comes up, really ran into the ground. You gotta stop. So, we starting this? What do we think of the asymmetrical flagpole placement on the White House lawn? I fucking hate neoclassicism, and I embrace all asymmetry that is employed to break up the monotonous facade. Dude, every neoclassical building looks the same. You think it'd be better if they had like another symmetrical flag over here? Is there a defined start time? Yeah, 8 minutes ago. Anyway, tempering our expectations, I don't think it'll be pre-recorded. What I think we need to look for is like, if this is a very, because it is, again, no matter what happens, no matter what happens, it is really fucking strange. They pushed it 30 minutes? Well, that's not good for them. No matter what happens, it is incredibly strange that Donald Trump spent an entire week not in front of the camera. That is really, really, really weird. Every picture we've seen of him, every video, every lie from the White House where they've pretended that he's healthier than he is, the fact that it would be politically advantageous for them to thoroughly disprove the rumors of his ill health by posting anything, any current photo, a 30-second video of him on the golf range going, "I'm Donald Trump and I'm in great health," anything like that. But they didn't do it. Literally anything. And now here we are. And he's finally breaking his silence for some procedural, bureaucratic bullshit. HQ is getting moved. What if nothing actually happened and we just got paranoid? I don't know if paranoia is the right description. I will say this, though. At this point, given everything that's happened, no matter what we see today, I will believe he suffered a moderate to severe stroke. Like, the evidence in favor of it is overwhelming. Prior symptoms, a bunch of compounding health issues, everything over the past... It's so weird. Maybe it seems more weird to me than to you guys. I'm almost certainly consuming more political media than you guys do. I'm just taking a guess, right? A week without Trump is insane. Essentially unprecedented. Like, there's no... I cannot think of a single time that it mattered during his presidency in the first term that this happened. Nothing that, like, compared to this, certainly, in terms of, like, the implication. He was on cam with COVID? Yes, he was. Yes, remember, he had COVID, and when he had COVID, he was still talking to the nation through it. He loves attention. His voice sounds like shit. Is this current?
I'm very disappointed in him. He and I always had a great relationship. I'm very disappointed. Thousands of people are dying. They're not Americans that are dying, but they're Russians and they're Ukrainians, and there's thousands, and it's a war that makes no sense.
I don't know if this is current. Poly market intel? I have no idea. Russia, Russia, Russia. Did you see this weird video they posted? Yeah, I saw this. They posted this in the YouTube, too. Trump got his own goddamn 12 rules for life.
Let me share some of the biggest lessons I've learned from a lifetime spent building dreams. First, if you think that you're too young to do something great, let me tell you that you are wrong. You're not too young. In America, with drive and ambition, young people can do anything. Second of all, and very importantly, you have to love what you do. I rarely see somebody that's successful that doesn't love what he or she does. Third thing is to think big. You know, you're going to do something.
It
you
does
might as well think big.
Feel like an in memoriam video.
A small problem is a big problem, and it's just as much energy and everything else, except the result is going to be a smaller one. So love what you do, but think big. Fourth is work hard. Work hard. Fifth is don't lose your momentum. You just want to keep it going, and you have to know if you are losing it, you have to know when you're losing it, so maybe you stop, and maybe it's time to stop. Number six, if you want to change the world, you have to have the courage to be an outsider. In other words, you have to take certain risks and do things a little bit differently. Otherwise, if that weren't the case, everybody would be successful. Number seven is to...
Did he actually say that? I don't fucking know. It's probably cut together between, like, AI and bits of stuff he said, because there is some weird deceptive editing here that suggests it's not entirely AI. What the fuck is this? Dog, this was posted by the White House. The White House posted this slot.
Trust your instincts, common sense. You can go very far in life with common sense. Eighth, everybody should believe in the American dream. It's real, it's there, and it's right before you.
Is it possible he directly says he was unwell? I don't think so. Because if it is a stroke, you can't be the president. There are a lot of health issues that you can work through as the president and be fine, but anything that affects the brain or anything that happens like sporadically, anything that like just strikes suddenly, you can't. You can't. You shouldn't, at least. I mean, you can, I guess, but you shouldn't.
Think of yourself as a winner. The power of positive thinking. In recent years, too many of our young people have really been taught to think of themselves as victims. But in America, we reject that idea that anyone is born a victim. Our heroes are the...
That's just a norm, and we know what Trump thinks about norms. Yeah, but like the reason Trump is dangerous politically is because he never shuts the fuck up. A stroke would directly get in the way of that. Like the brain damage caused by a severe stroke, the hampering of the ability to speak. It doesn't matter whether or not it's a norm he feels okay violating. It gets in the way of being president, you know?
Ones who take charge of their own destiny despite the odds. And next is to be an original. The old-time greats were people who had the confidence to be a little different. God only created one of you, so don't try to be someone else. Finally, and most importantly, never, ever give up. I've learned that perseverance is everything, so whatever happens, no matter where you are in life, stay optimistic and just keep pushing forward. Never let anyone tell you that something is impossible.
Didn't Fetterman have a stroke? Yeah, what's your what's your point? Are you just going to list every public figure you know of who's had a stroke? What's your point? What are you getting at with that? Fetterman isn't the president. Also, he's extremely unpopular. Like Fetterman, his decline escalated after he was elected senator. You know, like he had a stroke and he's retarded now. Like, what do you want? Have you seen him speak? He's not exactly a captivating orator. Trump's unban me from VoshGG. We have an email for that I haven't checked in months. I should do that soon. We have an email for that.
Possible, ever, ever, ever. In America, the impossible is what we all do best.
Well, that was slop. Memes aside, do you think Trump's recent heaven push is generally because he's afraid of dying? Has there been a heaven push, or did he just say one time he'd like to get into heaven? And that he'd like to, like, end the Russian invasion of Ukraine to get into heaven, because right now it's not looking so hot. I think it's just one thing that he said. Still, it was a weird thing to say. Two interviews? Well, maybe. Excuse me, sorry. They pushed out emails to his email list about getting into heaven. That's fucking weird. That's strange. Alex Jones said he heard from Trump's aide he's obsessed over heaven. Aren't old men always like that? Or old people in general? When they're dying? Yeah, because they're scared of dying. Will you be scared of dying? No, I preside over you guys. I'm already in hell. Damn, man. I'm really curious how he talks. Bets on how long till it starts. Can somebody tell me where the rumor that it's about SpaceX, or not SpaceX, sorry, Space Command, Space Force, changing its HQ? Like, God, what a stupid fucking reason to have a press conference. Where is that from? Here? Washington Post? Okay, I see they're doing this, but what suggests that's the primary subject of this, live updates. Trump will announce Space Command is moving from Colorado to Alabama. And that is, yeah, expected to announce this afternoon. I wonder if that's because the White House said that's what they're saying, or if it's just because it's a concurrent announcement, and it seems like it would make the most sense to do that. I love my impartial news, folks. All of this here at the top and no mention of Trump's health. Are you kidding me? The evidence for him having had a stroke and the White House covering it up is pretty strong. All over TikTok, they've been expecting war with Venezuela. I think not, but still. No. Don't you guys know how fascists work? You have to, like, build up a big justification first. Yeah, we've moved, well, what was it? We moved, like, was it the Pacific Command? Who did we move over there? No, it was the Atlantic. Over near Venezuela. But we're just having fun with it. The world's oceans are free for us to travel through. Might be a distraction, actually. Everything lately to you people is a distraction. That being said, I will admit this. If there is some kind of public aggression, some announcement against Venezuela, that is the most "this is a distraction from Trump's health" thing I've ever seen in my life. Wonder if he'd use that as an excuse to turn over a bunch of pressers to Hegseth instead of having to do it himself. Like, just outsourcing, avoiding publicly dealing with the consequences of your stroke by declaring war on a sovereign nation so that you can hand things over to your Secretary of Defense. Or Secretary of War, after they change the name. Has Vosh seen what's going on in Indonesia recently? The only stuff I see out of Indonesia is surprisingly high quality homoerotic fan art of Western media properties. What else is going on over there? You want other news? Nah, I'm kind of locked in on this. What the fuck? I'm looking at this Daily Caller interview with Trump, the transcript of it, where Trump is being weird about the inevitability of death. Here, he, that's Biden, didn't win the race. He lost badly. He was a horrible president. But can you imagine? He says he has stage 9 cancer. That was what, 2-3 months ago? I know, you were at the golf course that day. I was with you. Stage 9. I've never heard of more than stage 4. Stage 4 is the highest. I've never... If you're stage 4, you're dead. Biden, I hate you, but you're a tough son of a bitch. You made it all the way up to stage 9? Oh, St. Peter's got a cold brewski waiting for you up at the pearly gates, buddy. What the fuck is he talking about? How come we didn't hear about it beforehand? That was suspicious to me. I don't know if he knew. Especially stage 9. Is there such a thing? Never heard of it. Me either. He's talking about, instead of having a presidential portrait of Biden, they're going to put up a presidential portrait of an auto pen instead of Biden. You're gonna put Biden up too? Okay, show it. Isn't that an interesting question? We put up a picture of the auto pen. That's really fucking funny. That's actually kind of funny. That's extremely funny. Stage 9. Their ass has never shown us. What does an automatic pen look like? An auto pen. It's just a little machine that that records the way a person writes their signature and replicates it physically on a document. Didn't C-SPAN confirm it got moved to 2:30? Yes. However, if you'll check your clocks, you'll see that 2:30 is in 5 minutes, at least if you're going by Eastern time. Whoa! Yeah, I got it, Snowy Cat. I think it's soy for a device to exist just to replicate a signature. Maybe we should elect people who can sign 3 documents without turning into paraplegics. Buddy, you have no idea how many documents the president has to sign. If the president wants to do clemency for like all people in federal prison for like marijuana possession, for example, that's a separate signature for each one. The president has to sign a lot of documents. Usually, the presidents, since the invention of the auto pen, presidents have saved their signature for big important documents and have left most of the procedural stuff to the auto pen. God has no idea. Back in the 1800s, they invented a mechanical auto pen machine for President Jefferson because of how much shit he had to sign. No kidding. That's really funny. Doesn't the president have a seal he can use, or am I misremembering? Well, sure, there's a presidential seal, but that's not a signature. A seal doesn't confirm a document. It just officiates a document. But pretty much anything that comes out of the White House is going to have the necessary, you know, iconography on it. Why not use a stamp? Because a stamp isn't a signature. It is in Japan. Is that true? In Japan, do they allow stamps to work as signatures? Yes? Interesting. Okay. Well, not here. Stamp is literally the same thing as an auto pen. Not to thing Japan. I don't want to do that. However, I do think we can all fairly say a stamp is cooler than an auto pen. Because an auto pen is like a clunky little piece of office equipment you have to set the paper into, whereas a stamp can be this cool, like, custom engraved design thing with like a little, like, you know, like you've got, there's like a feel to it, you know? It is cooler. Signature stamps are legal in the US? Really? Huh. I guess it's just a cultural difference then. Also, how often are you signing documents that you need a stamp for it, right? Like in the president's case, you can just have an auto pen anyway. But if you're just a regular person, I mean, how often are you doing that? That you need to keep like a stamp with you. A signature in Japanese writing is more complex. Yeah, Baka Gaijin can't perceive of the difficulty involved in writing out the kanji. There are kanji in a name, right? I don't fucking know how the writing system works. I just listen to the subs. Late, late, late. Don't you listen to the dubs? Only for a few anime, man. Most of the time, they don't put enough effort in. It's been getting better, though. Basically, anything from Gainax or Studio Trigger is probably fine. Dandadan's been great. There's a lot of modern anime have good dubs. You know? I think people are often, like, kind of elitist about preferring subs over dubs. I think that usually subs are better than dubs, but it just depends, you know? Did you see Jujutsu Kaisen is getting a season 3? Yeah, they need it too, considering the fact that the story is ass. It's dog water. So, like, the only thing carrying it is the sick-ass animation crew they've got working on it, you know, working their fucking hands down to the knuckle bones. So, you know, we all get that reminder. What happens to you enjoying JJK? I love JJK. The animation, specifically. The animators. I love the animators. C-SPAN is now saying 245. Jesus fucking Christ. He's dead. He's dead. There are 57,000 people watching just this Associated Press live stream, and it's not because people care about Space Command being moved. Nobody gives a shit about that. It's all because everyone wants to see whether it talks like this. And I don't know if we're gonna get what we want, but there's 14K people watching Lamau. I said the AP live stream. I'm not that conceited. Jesus. I said this earlier, but now that more people are watching, we are, like, I don't think we're going to see that it's all pre-recorded. I don't think that Trump's gonna get wheeled out there in a cart or whatever. I think that what we're looking for, because at this point, the evidence that Trump has had a stroke and that it's being hidden, to me, is overwhelming. And I normally don't go in for this conspiracy stuff either, you know? Normally, I'm not the kind of person to bite onto every blue MAGA talking point. But like an entire week of Trump silence where they have not procured a single photo or video of him looking healthy to disprove the extremely prominent rumors of his ill health, where he was quiet both on Labor Day and during a mass shooting by a trans person. Like, seriously. Just quiet, quiet, quiet. I do think he's been stroking it in secret. I think he's been stroking it nasty style, and I think they're trying to hide it. If he comes out and okay, because by now, assuming the stroke happened about a week ago, around the time he went quiet, he has had enough time that he could conceivably have partially recovered, even from a pretty severe stroke. Like, enough time has passed that he could spend a couple of minutes in front of the camera and hold it together. Maybe. If it's a moderate stroke, if it's not like if it's one that can be recovered from even at his age, it's possible there are still some lingering effects, but at this point we're talking about like a pretty severe ongoing risk, right? If it's really short, if it seems like Donald Trump is just reading off the teleprompter and he's just here for a boring bureaucratic announcement, if they're really breaking a week of silence just so he can like drolly read off a sheet of paper, I think that's a confirmation. Excuse me. Hasn't he been having mini strokes since his first term? People say that. I mean, it hasn't been confirmed. It's entirely possible. What's the ideal realistic scenario? He goes out there, he looks a little bit stiff, he doesn't make jokes or go into the weave, he just reads out what he's presented, and then he leaves once that obligation is completed, because this was like a bureaucratic announcement that he had to make anyway, or promises were already made with interdepartmental heads, so they wanted to keep more or less the pace of the schedule on point. But then he just shambles off. Yeah, a lot like what Biden did. Sorry about the constant throat clearing. Vaxxed? As a matter of fact, my grandpa got completely clobbered by a big stroke. Trump does not have the health to handle that. Yeah, recovering from strokes is pretty difficult when you're this old. God damn, dude. Do I have like fucking something wrong with me? Am I stroking out? I gotta remember to mute the microphone before clearing my throat. Yeah, at this age, it is pretty difficult to recover from a stroke. If it's a TIA stroke, you can recover within a week. Yeah, we talked about this yesterday. People have been arguing for years that Trump has been having miniature strokes and occasionally demonstrates signs of it. There are some persistent signs of ill health, like the fact that he constantly has bruises on the back of his hands. Both of his hands. I thought it was only one. I've always taken that as him having thin blood and an IV drip. He has thin blood because he has heart issues, so he takes blood thinners to keep clots from happening. And because his blood is thin, he bruises quite easily when he gets an IV. That makes sense. Not too uncommon for old people, you know. However, sometimes he's been shown to drag his leg. He seems to have like coordination issues physically. He's done that like leaning thing that he's keen on. These can all tie into, in some form or another, kinds of persistent brain damage, which can be either temporarily exacerbated by or permanently caused by strokes. Balance, coordination, anything involving the brain, really. You're shutting oxygen off for a bit. But it's all difficult to say. Yeah, I saw Masaigo. This motherfucker just linked me a goddamn thread link. Look at this picture of Trump. taken on his trip to Qatar. It was accompanied by a nonsensical rant. His right facial muscles and mouth are drooping. I don't really like just going off individual photos like this, but I will say that there have been a lot of photos and videos where Trump does look uncoordinated in a way that I think could be fairly attributed to the minor effects, the minor short-term effects of a small stroke, you know. Um, but it's always just speculation. Like the White House has never confirmed that, obviously. It's really just a matter of, has he finally had a stroke that is severe enough that it causes real persistent damage? Not the kind of stuff that you could cover up with Trump's usual idiosyncrasies, you know, him being a wacky guy. But if he's been hit with one that's going to like really hamper him. And if he has been hit by one that's really going to hamper him, that might be that. Once old people start to fall into ill health, they hit a downward spiral in many cases where it's very difficult to pull out from. You know, your body's like a billion different like codependent systems, all of which have to hold each other up for you to continue to survive every day. And the older you get, the more every single one of those systems gets weaker. And if something tips, especially something in the brain, because of course, if you get any kind of brain damage as an old person, it fucks with the body's regulation of a bunch of other systems. You can be healthy for 80 years, totally healthy, and then you have one episode, and then your health just spirals. Mies, I'm very happy to hear you're feeling in better health. Watching any chubby emo video will make you paranoid of anything. Yeah, that's true. That is true. But I think it also, in a strange, beautiful way, kind of helps you appreciate the frailty, but also the tenacity of the human body. But again, everything gets worse as you get older. My great-grandmother fell in the shower at 93 and her throat stopped working, so she couldn't swallow. It's just part of the process. Eesh. Jesus. Getting old. I'm 33, and C-SPAN delayed to 3 now? Okay. Come on, man. I could have gotten more sleep. Dude, they're putting makeup on a corpse right now. What the fuck? Holy shit. If anything, this only further confirms the health rumors, because you'd think that Trump's team right now would be like, okay, Trump, you're healthy. All of this has been a misunderstanding. Now, the last thing we want to do is further inflame these rumors by showing up very late. Jesus Christ. It was the Stage 9 Cancer Trust. Yeah, true. You know it. Yes, sir. This is the most anyone has ever cared about Space Command. Okay, hey. Maybe they're doing this all on purpose. What, genuine question, what do you get out of, like, proposing that? I know it's, to an extent, the devil's argument thing, or like a question prompt thing, but I feel like I get it every time anything happens, where there's someone is always like, what if this was all planned from the start? When have they ever planned anything from the start? When have they ever done anything on purpose? Isn't Alabama a weird place to move it to? Or is there a good reason for it? I have no idea. But I think you can reasonably assume that if this White House is doing anything between the states, it's probably for political reasons. Taking it from a blue state to a red state. Yes, it has officially been delayed by an hour. Is Colorado a blue state or just a purple state? Colorado's blue. Colorado might actually be one of the most unique states in the country. Outside of Alaska and Hawaii, maybe it is, you know? It is a weird one. It's solid blue. Like, it's in the middle of nowhere, and it has low population and low population density. It's geographically isolated, but it's blue because every single community there is full of, like, wealthy, educated, ski slope, enjoyers. It's like, literally, the entire state is, like, that kind of hippie, yeah. Do you think the White House is white because of paint or because of the stone? It's not paint. I'm pretty sure it's just a very white limestone, right? Just got it from a good quarry. Plaster? Well, then what'd they do before plaster? The stone just formed like that? They just found a rock that looked like that? Okay. That would be quite the divine providence. I would understand the, like, westward bound manifest destiny propaganda if, the pilgrims landed at Plymouth Rock, traveled inland, and found a rock shaped like that. I would also go like, yeah, God might have a plan for us. It turns out plaster's like 5,000 years old. Then why, stupid, does it sound like plastic, which is not 5,000 years old? How do I articulate this? Smug emoji, thought bubble, in parentheses, he didn't know plaster wasn't plastic, close parentheses. Plaster is made from gypsum, which is a rock also used in making alabaster. You realize you sound insane right now, right? Gypsum? That's a slur. Alabaster? That's probably a color. Yeah, that's a bird. White House receives a new coat of paint approximately every 4 to 6 years. Huh, I really thought it was just like limestone. Does limestone not get that white? Maybe, I guess limestone doesn't get like white. You can get kind of an off-white, but this is pretty pure white. Does anyone else think that the White House is dumb and gay, and that it would be much cooler if it was all like gigantic carved limes? No! Audio?
Well, thank you very much. It's a very important day and an important announcement with great friends of mine. I think I can say this group is every one of them.
Oh, he's holding up pretty good.
I rate a 10. I can't always say that, even if they're Republicans, and these are Republicans, great Republicans. I want to thank you all for being here for this important announcement, 7 years in the making. As you know, this has been going on for a long period of time, and I am thrilled to report that the U.S. Space Command headquarters will move to the beautiful locale of a place called Huntsville, Alabama, forever to be known from this point forward as Rocket City. Okay, so Huntsville, Alabama, we love Alabama. I only won it by about 47 points. I don't think that influenced my decision, though, right? That didn't, right? But we had a lot of competition for this, and Alabama's getting it, Huntsville in particular. So congratulations, everybody. Katie, congratulations. This will result in more than 30,000 Alabama jobs and probably much more than that, and hundreds of millions of dollars of investment.
Guys,
and that's
calm your
billions
shit.
because it can't be millions. It's billions and billions of dollars. Most importantly, this decision will help America defend and dominate the high frontier, as they call it. I want to thank Secretary Pete Hegseth. He's doing a fantastic job. And Secretary of the Air Force Troy Mink. Troy, thank you very much. Great job you're doing, Troy. This is such a big deal. This is one that everybody wanted to know. What are you doing? I also want to thank Senators Katie Britt, and I want to give my condolences. Your grandmother, her grandmother just passed away. She was 100, right?
100, and she loved you, Mr. President.
Well, and she was very proud of you.
Thank you very much.
Very, very proud of you. So thank you, Katie.
Wonderful woman.
She must have been. To produce you indirectly, I can tell you she had to be. Tommy Tuberville, who's a great coach. And I won't say anything about what happened with Alabama football this weekend.
Let's leave that out.
But you're not used to that, right? You're not used to that. But Tommy, Auburn won, is right. They did. So you're happy. Tommy's been a great senator, as you know, and fantastic.
Sometimes you people need to learn to sit back. Not everything needs a reaction. You guys need to sit back and observe.
A fantastic guy all around. He was also a tremendous coach. House Armed Services Committee Chair Mike Rogers. Thank you, Mike. Where's Mike? Mike, thank you very much. Doing great, Mike. Representatives Barry Moore, all great friends, Robert Adderholt, Gary Palmer, and Dale Strong. Thank you all very much, fellas. Appreciate it. In my first term, I created a thing called Space Force. So important. You know, we were losing the race in space very badly to China and to Russia. And now we're far and away #1 in space, and reestablished Space Com with a mission to protect American space assets and detect any threat to our homeland. We initially selected Huntsville for the Spacecom headquarters, yet those plans were wrongfully obstructed by the Biden administration. And as you know, they moved them to a different locale. And today we're moving forward with what we want to do and the place that we want to have this. And this will be there for hopefully hundreds of years. That's where it's going to be. I will say I want to thank Colorado. The problem I have with Colorado, one of the big problems, they do mail-in voting. They went to all mail-in voting. So they have automatically crooked elections. And we can't have that. When a state is for mail-in voting, that means they want dishonest elections, because that's what that means. So that played a big factor also. In Huntsville, Spacecom will play a key role in building the Golden Dome, as you know. That's going to be a big thing. Everybody wants to be a participant in it. Missile Defense Shield, we're going to be having a Golden Dome that the likes of which nobody's ever seen before.
Oh, yeah, that's
the finest, the best. And by the way, Canada called. They want to be a part of it, and that'll be great. But Canada wants very much to be included in that, and then we're going to work something out with them, I hope. It will also ensure that our technological capabilities, of which we're way ahead of anybody else, there's nobody close, remain unmatched long into the future. So I'd like to ask Secretary Hegseth to say a few words. He was very much a part of it. And really, everybody behind me was. Every one of these people would call me and lobby me. I said, Katie, I don't want to talk to you anymore. I know what you want. She said, that's right, sir. That's what I want. And they got their way. So I just want to congratulate. These are really special people. They're politicians in many ways, but they're great patriots, I think even more so than politicians. So they fought very hard to get it, and it's an honor to give it to Huntsville. Pete, say a few words, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. As usual, right place, right time.
He kind of lumbered over there, didn't he? No, I think it's right. I think it happened, yeah. They take a week, no word from the president, nothing to break the extremely persistent online rumor milling. He shows up, cameras turn on when he's already in position. He just kind of lumbered over there, see? He's basically just been reading straight off the script, and a couple of times the fellas behind him have been looking down at the script, not just at Trump, but also down at what he's looking at. I mean, I think it's kind of what I expected a little bit. Like, it seems like, yeah, they were, you know, putting on their pants. We have to do this announcement. Let's get it going. Let's show up for the cameras and try to hold it together for a couple of minutes. Keep in mind, you do recover from strokes, right? Even if you don't recover completely, it's not like having one stroke is going to leave you. I think a lot of people, I try to temper expectations because I think a lot of you expected him to get, like, Weekend at Bernie's by J.D. Vance or something. No, we're talking about a White House that can't resist responding to shots from anyone. Like, Donald Trump fires tweets back in response to what Governor Newsom's press account is saying, you know? The idea that they would let a rumor like that simmer for a week, absolutely ridiculous. Breaking it for this?
Reason. In your first administration, you established the Space Force at a time when we knew we had to be looking to that domain of space. You also reestablished SpaceCom to ensure that priority was put in place, and you, through the Air Force, independently identified that Huntsville, Alabama was the right place to put it. For other reasons, in the next administration under Biden, they decided to move it somewhere else. Well, during that time, the DOD Inspector General, the Government Affairs Office, they did their own assessments, and where did they say SpaceCom should go? Huntsville, Alabama. So what you're doing today, Mr. President, is restoring it to precisely where it should be based on what the Space Force, the Air Force, your leadership believes.
Forgive my conspiracy posting. It does kind of feel like he's standing at a slant, though. I mean, if you look at his shoulders compared to every other person here, it looks like he's standing with a slight slant to his left.
Will give us strategic advantage in the future. That is Huntsville, Alabama. We are way ahead in space, but this will ensure we stay leaps and bounds ahead because that's the most important domain. Whoever controls the skies will control the future of warfare. And Mr. President, today you're ensuring that happens. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Katie, would you like to say something?
Mr. President, we are grateful for your leadership on this and restoring Space Command to its rightful home in Huntsville, Alabama.
Dude, look at
this delegation has worked together, both chambers, both parties, to make sure that Huntsville was the place that Space Command called home. As was mentioned, obviously the Biden administration chose to make this political. What we want to do is put the safety and security of Americans first. We want to make sure that our warfighter is put first, and we want to make sure that America continues to lead. And today, Mr. President, you've allowed that to happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tommy, please.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. This is a great day for our country, not just for our state of Alabama. We need...
Like, if you were going to slow roll Trump being reintroduced into the public space, wouldn't this be the perfect way to do it? A press conference where, I'm just going to guess, probably not going to be much press engagement. The cameras turn on when everyone's already standing in position and everyone else gets combined more time to speak than Trump. A bunch of people behind you and around you. You get me, right? His hand has concealer on it? Yes, you're right. His right hand does have concealer on it.
Help in our military. We need to catch up. And as Secretary has said, we're not behind in space, but we know where we're at, and we need to expound on that. Now, this move will save the taxpayers $480 million.
Yay.
It's not going to cost more. It's going to cut $480 million. We have the plans intact. It'll be behind a secure wall in Huntsville, Alabama, at Redstone Arsenal. We have 40,000 people there. We have the FBI there. We have missile defense there. We have NASA, Blue Origin, and SpaceX. It is the perfect place for Space Command. I would tell you today, and I've spoke with the president for the last 3 or 4 years about this. If I thought it needed to go somewhere else because I understand the security of our country, I'd be for that. But the best place for Space Command is Huntsville, Alabama, because what we have and what it means to this country is going to be so important. So thank you, Mr. President, for this, and we look forward to building a huge Space Command and having the Donald J. Trump Space Command Center in Huntsville, Alabama.
Here, here.
JD, would you like to say something?
Sure. Well, Mr. President, thank you. I'll be very brief here. I lobbied the president hard to put it in Ohio, but he said these people behind us, these Alabamas, are just too powerful and too persuasive. And so it's
quite a big lineup of people to talk about what is essentially like a top-down bureaucratic change, I feel, considering what the priorities of this administration typically are.
Alabama, but as Tommy said, this is exactly the right place for Space Force and Space Command. I think Americans ought to appreciate the fact that you can't win the battle of the future unless you control the skies. The cyber security, the communications, the entire infrastructure of the battle in the 21st century will be in space. So it was a visionary move in the first administration for the president to set up Space Force, and I think an equally visionary move to make sure that Space Force is right where it should be in Huntsville, Alabama. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Gentlemen, anybody want to say anything? Would you like to say?
Mr. President, another promise
Anyone
made,
else
another
with a
promise
filibuster?
kept. You think about it, Redstone Arsenal is critical to national security. The president said when you were the 45th president, let's do what's right for national security. And today, that's exactly what we're doing. It's not because of this or that. It's because it's right for national security. You think of the 21 categories that were evaluated to determine what was best for national security. All indicators pointed back to Huntsville, Alabama, and Redstone Arsenal. We have the right people at the right place at the right time. Mr. President, on behalf of the people of the 5th Congressional District and all of Alabama, thank you for keeping your word.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Anybody?
Let me just say,
Everyone, just every single person here. Okay.
And thank you for doing this because it was the right thing to do. All the when they looked at all the numbers, Huntsville was the place to go, and like you say, it was unfortunately pulled out, but you made it right. So I want to just say thank you again for a grateful nation, and to the state of Alabama, we're very grateful. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mike, do you
Please, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr.
They're
President.
inventing new guys
Throughout
for this
history,
press
militaries
conference.
has always understood that whoever could hold the high ground held the advantage. Space is the ultimate high ground. And what we're doing with moving the Space Command to Huntsville is absolutely critical to our maintaining dominance in that sphere. And it goes hand in hand with what we're trying to do with the Golden Dome and missile defense to defend against anyone else who tries to enter that sphere. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Please, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. And obviously, national defense is a huge issue. And when you look at this,
Trump looks and sound like Trump. Let's not cope. It's really difficult to talk about stuff like this with you guys because you have this push and pull of people who will believe any blue MAGA slop thrown at the wall. But then you also have people who are cowards and are so afraid to hope and yearn and believe and trust with all their heart that they'll performatively disavow any like line. There is nothing that can happen in this conference or elsewhere that changes the fact that the past week has been insanely weird. What I'm looking for is not whether or not a stroke happened. It did. I've decided that it did. I believe that. Nothing will change my mind. What I'm looking for is the severity of the stroke, signs of its severity. He's clearly not fully recovered. Why do I think this? Apart from the delay in the announcement, look at this format. Like, again, this is the format that you would pitch if you were trying to shore up somebody who's in a weak spot. Have everyone else step up here. You say Trump's acting just the same as normal, but that's because your standards of deduction are not as keenly tuned as my own. You don't see what's going on, man. You don't have the third eye open.
scores, Alabama.
Actually, it makes me wonder if one of the reasons why this press conference was delayed is if because they were trying to bring more people over here, you know? Like, get more people over here to share a blurb with the camera, try to, like, buffer out the numbers a little more.
Was number one, and for political reasons, it was moved out of our state. But, Mr. President, thank you for making priorities the defense and the warfighter and the safety of this nation. And in the big, beautiful bill, that Golden Dome will be built in Huntsville, Alabama, and we're grateful for that. Thank you.
Stuff like that, you know? Just...
Listen, as chairman of the Armed Services Committee, I care very much about what's most important for our national security. And the president held a nationwide competition to determine where we should have this command.
Jesus,
if y'all will remember, at the end of that competition, where Alabama came in first, there was a lot of complaints from the other states who did not place well. He said, we'll do it over with new criteria to accommodate your concerns. Alabama came in first in that second competition. His Secretary of the Air Force reviewed the results, said it was fair, and the president named Huntsville. It was the Biden administration that decided to make it political, even though his own Secretary of the Air Force said it was a fair competition and it should be in Huntsville. So I want you to know I appreciate this president standing up and being strong and saying he's going to make this right and put it where it rightfully belongs, and that's Huntsville, Alabama.
Thank you very much. Good job. Appreciate it. So thank you all very much. You are going to leave me alone now? You're not going to call me anymore and talk about this subject, right? You promise? They'll start something else. But I just want to congratulate you. It's a very big deal. When you come out and when you leave the room, you'll see that we just, over the last few minutes, literally shot out a boat, a drug-carrying boat, a lot of drugs in that boat. And you'll be seeing that, and you'll be reading about that. It just happened moments ago, and our great general, head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who's been so incredible, including what took place in Iran, knocking out potential nuclear power for a long time to come. I think within a month they would have had it if we didn't do what we did. But he gave us a little bit of a briefing. And you'll see, and there's more where that came from. We have a lot of drugs pouring into our country, coming in for a long time, and we just, these came out of Venezuela and coming out very heavily from Venezuela. A lot of things are coming out of Venezuela, so we took it out, and you'll get to see that after this meeting is over. Do you have any questions, please? Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Tuberville talked about the cost savings associated with this announcement. Can you talk about the strategic benefits by having Space Force Command headquartered in Huntsville?
Well, it just works because we have so much else there. And having a central, you could call it a central command, but it really is a command station. Also, even locationally, where it is, and when you think about flying distances, if you can save a half an hour as fast as some of these planes go and things go, and even the rockets go, if you can save by having the best location. So we went out, as you know, to experts, and we had 4 different groups of experts. They all said this was the best location. I also loved it from the standpoint, I know the people of Alabama, they are great people, work hard, and there's no games, and they're very proud of it. And I would say they fought harder for it than anybody else also. A lot of states, 5 states really wanted it, but they wanted it more. And I kid you not when I say that these people, they spoke to me a lot. That's all they wanted to talk about. They didn't want to talk about the weather. They only wanted to talk about moving to this location, moving to Alabama, Huntsville.
Do you think this is similar to the low energy we saw on the campaign trail post-Biden dropout? I don't think his energy levels are meaningfully that different. The shortness of breath, the low energy, the inattentiveness, all that seems to be pretty normal Trump. I mean, they're all signs of poor health, right? But they're normal poor health for him.
In particular. So we're honored to do it. They really wanted it badly, and they got it. Peter?
President Trump, something completely different, but about a big viral social media trend over the weekend.
Oh.
How did you find out over the weekend that you were dead? You see that?
No.
People didn't see it for a couple days. 1.3 million user engagements as of Saturday morning.
These are pre-scripted questions. These are like allies to the White House. No actual journalist would do this like, hey, did you hear, Mr. President? You're dead, haha. As opposed to asking something like, do you have any commentary on the speculation concerning your health, you know?
About your demise.
Really? I didn't see that. You know, I have heard it's sort of crazy, but last week.
So that question was planted. They're doing that. This is their way of directly addressing it. They're pitching him the easy. This is a classic. As a live streamer, I recognize this move. Okay, it's when you want to address something, so you're waiting for somebody in chat to bring it. Like there's a topic you want to broach, like a subject or something, so you're waiting for like the softest ball being pitched from chat or whatever. The underhanded pitch. Yeah, I see it. I see this.
I did numerous news conferences, all successful. They went very well, like this is going very well. And then I didn't do any for 2 days, and they said, there must be something wrong with him. Biden wouldn't do them for months. You wouldn't see him. And nobody ever said there was ever anything.
A bunch of nervous laughter when he brings this up, almost as though they knew the question was coming, or they were waiting for Trump's response to it, or they knew exactly what he was going to say and were kind of waiting for the tension to be brought out of the room.
wrong with him, and we know he wasn't in the greatest of shape. No, I heard that. I get reports. Now, you knew I did an interview that lasted for about an hour and a half with somebody, and everybody saw that was on one of your competitors.
Somebody.
I did numerous shows and also did a number of truths, long truths, I think pretty poignant truths. No, I was very active over the weekend. They also knew I went out to visit some people at the club that I own pretty nearby on the Potomac River. And no, I've been very active actually over the weekend. I didn't hear that one. That's pretty serious stuff.
I'm glad it's.
Well, it's.
I didn't hear that. Oh my God, dude. Okay. Also, speaking as like a live streamer, if there's like fucking bad drama and you're like, what? I hadn't heard of that. When you fucking know they've heard of it, it's posturing. Jesus Christ. Oh, okay. Well, I mean, if nothing else, I guess this kind of confirms it for me, right?
Fake news. You know, it's just it's so fake. That's why the media has so little credibility. I knew they were saying, like, is he okay? How's he feeling? What's wrong? I said, I just left. And it's also sort of a longer weekend, you know, it's Labor Day weekend. So I would say a lot of people know I was very active this Labor Day. I had heard that, but I didn't hear it to that extent. Go ahead, Peter.
Something else. We know that this country has a huge problem with school shootings. You've said that you're open to sending the National Guard pretty much anywhere. Would you ever consider sending an armed National Guardsman to every school?
Sure, man. Why not?
Well, we have a big problem with school shooting, but we also have thousands and thousands of schools that run perfectly. You know, they talk about you can do things construction-wise, and that's really, I think nobody knows more about construction than me. You can build the construction doors. You can build what they call safety doors, where they lock on the outside, the inside, and every place else. Well, but if one of these lunatics happens to get through, then the police can't get in. Then they're looking for keys all over the place, and it takes a lot of disadvantages to.
Someone showed him like a Insta reel of all of those insane, psychotic, you've seen those, right? Here's a Kevlar backpack. Here's like a big bulletproof fake wall that you can pull out from the wall and like hide on the other side of. Shit like that, you know? Only in America, man.
Doing, you know, spending billions and billions of dollars and actually making it safer in some way for some of these lunatics that we're dealing with. But I don't think so. I've thrown out the concept. We have great teachers that love our children. The parents love the children. Teachers love the children, too. And if you took a small percentage of those teachers that were in the military, that were distinguished in the military, that were in the National Guard, et cetera, and you let them carry, that's something that a lot of people like. I sort of liked it. I'd have to be studied, but they're trained. They know about weapons. You can't do it with every teacher because most teachers don't know, and you know. But I always thought that would be an alternative. But it just we've had a lot of instances. Other countries have also. They have different kinds of problems than we have, but we do have. There's something going on. And it's a bad thing. Yes, please.
Have you spoken with President Putin in the past week? Have you spoken with President Putin in the past week?
I don't want to. I have learned things that will be very interesting. I think in the next few days you'll find out.
Will there be any consequences if there isn't some type of announcement of a meeting with President Putin and President Zelensky?
Yeah,
and what could those consequences be?
We're going to see what happens. We're going to see what they do and what happens. I'm watching it very closely. Last week, they lost 7,000, between the two countries, 7,313 soldiers, to be somewhat exact, for no reason whatsoever.
To give you a precise number.
And they're Russian and they're Ukrainian, but, you know, they're soldiers. I want to see it end. Yeah.
Mr. President, have you decided you're definitely going to send National Guard troops to Chicago?
I didn't say when, but the answer is, look, Chicago's very interesting because I watched Pritzker get up and say about, we don't need help, we're safe. But 2 weeks ago, they had 6 people murdered, and they had 24 people hit by bullets. Last week, as you know, it was 7 people, 24 people hit, and 7 people died. And then over the last 2 days, that was the crown jewel. They had, I guess, 9 or 10 killed, and 50 hit with bullets. And you have this governor, Get Up, who's a terrible governor. Probably he and Gavin Newsom would be probably the 2 worst and most naive. They're naive. Either they're naive or they're very untruthful. And he'll say, we don't want any protection. We don't need. So in the last 3 weeks, he's lost almost 20 people killed. There's no place in the world, including you can go to Afghanistan, you can go to places that you would think of. They don't even come close to this. Chicago is a hellhole right now. Baltimore is a hellhole right now. Parts of Los Angeles are terrible. If we didn't put out the fires, I mean the other fires, the bullet fires, they didn't do a good job with it. They should have had the water coming down, like I said. You know, we had to release the water. We had to go in and release the water to LA. It's so badly run. But if I didn't send the National Guard into Los Angeles, I would be making an announcement today. I'd be talking about Huntsville, and I'd simultaneously be saying, by the way, the Olympics is not coming to Los Angeles. If we didn't do that, and even the sheriff, the top law enforcement person in Los Angeles said, we could not have handled it without them. So that's what he said.
Make your mind up on Chicago, though?
Well, we're going in. I didn't say when. We're going in. When you lose, look, I have an obligation. This isn't a political thing. I have an obligation. When we lose, when 20 people are killed over the last 2.5 weeks, and 75 are shot with bullets. So let me tell you a little story about a place called D.C., District of Columbia, right here where we are. It's now a safe zone. We have no crime. It's in such great shape. You can go and actually walk with your children, your wife, your husband. You can walk right down the middle of the street. You're not going to be shot, Peter. You're safe. Everyone likes you anyway. They probably wouldn't do it. But it's so dangerous. And there are people in this audience you've suffered greatly. There are people in this audience that have been mugged and hurt badly, and they don't want to talk about it. Maybe you were very brave in talking about it. You made quite an impression on a lot of people. I appreciate it. But there were other people in this room that have been hurt very badly just walking down the street in D.C. Washington, D.C., is a safe zone right now. It's a safe city. The restaurants are open. You
can tell the drugs are hitting now. He's in the groove. No, you guys are... You guys don't know people who have had strokes. They were really nervous about whether or not Trump would be able to do this. Like, they weren't sure how well he would hold up. They surround him with people. They have the initial pitch that he has to do be like 2 minutes of him and 5 minutes of everyone else, where he's surrounded by people who can draw it out as long as they want, delay as much as they want. But depending on his confidence, he has the ability to stand here and respond to prearranged questions by favorable members of the media, and he can sort of go back into the groove that he's familiar with, you know? It's really just a matter of what he's comfortable with. It can end at any time, and this kind of stuff is probably like not very load-bearing for him cognitively. Like, it's not difficult for him to engage with questions like this because he's entering the same weave he always has, you know? It comes naturally. As long as he can speak. He's definitely mostly recovered from the stroke. That being said, the fact that the way they addressed the health rumors was by having a guy like, I heard you were dead. Are you dead, Mr. President? That, pretty on the nose. Pretty on the nose.
Booming. You can't get a restaurant. New restaurants are announcing that they're going to be open. This took place in 12 days. Now it's 15 days, but 3 days ago, it became what's known as a safe zone. It's a safe city. And this city was really bad, really, really bad. We took 1,600 people out, hardcore criminals that will not be coming back anytime soon. And we're very proud of it. You know, to have our nation's capital lose every week, you know, it was like years, many years, where every single week somebody was killed for many consecutive weeks. This went on for years. And then we had, last week it was announced that nobody was killed last week. And I made that announcement in front of a very distinguished leader of a country. and I'm saying proudly, ladies and gentlemen, nobody was killed in Washington, D.C. this week. He looked at me like, what's that all about? I say, yeah, we have a little bit of a crime problem, and we don't have a crime problem in Washington anymore. And the mayor has been very helpful, and the police commission has been very helpful, and it's been a great team. And I would love to have Governor Pritzker call me. I'd gain respect for him and say, we do have a problem, and we'd love you to send in the troops, because you know what? The people, they have to be protected. I saw today on one of your networks, not a friendly network, except really the opposite, I would say, very unfriendly network, and they interviewed about 12 people on this morning. Most of them were African American, they were black, and they were saying, please, please, please let the president send in. These were people from Chicago. Please, we need help. We need help. We can't walk outside. We're petrified.
One undying truth of American white-on-white communication is that all arguments are settled by arguing over what black people would want or find cool. It doesn't matter whether you're talking about like art, culture, music, whatever, politics. It doesn't matter. Everyone's just arguing over what black people want.
If the governor of Illinois would call
even racist,
call me up,
yeah.
I would love to do it. Now, we're going to do it anyway. We have the right to do it because I have an obligation to protect this country. And that includes Baltimore. I saw where Governor Moore was asking me to take a walk down the street of Baltimore. Well, Baltimore is a very unsafe place. It's rated number 4 in the city, one of the most unsafe places anywhere in the world. But, you know, we took care. This was a beautiful thing that happened in Washington because we showed that it could be done. And this wasn't just sending big, strong guys, and they are big and they are strong. You know, we had a great decision from the Supreme Court that had to do with sort of talent. It had to do with you are put down based on merit. You can hire based on merit. So merit for a soldier or for a policeman is strong, physically fit, having a certain ability, not a person that is woke and got the job through woke, but wasn't strong enough to lift a gun out of the holster, et cetera, et cetera. No, I looked at the police. As you know, last week I went over, we had a meeting with, there had to be 300 people, and they were all very impressive looking. And when the bad guys see them, they're not going to do a thing. And so I'm very proud of Washington. It serves as a template, and we're going to do it elsewhere. But Chicago is certainly going to be high. I would love to have him call. I would love the governor of Illinois. I'd be honored to take his call. All he has to do is say, sir, we need help. It's out of control. And everyone knows it is. He's not kidding anyone. I would love to have, I would say, Governor Moore call, because I watched him over the weekend trying to explain that Baltimore, what they need is housing. No, they don't need housing. They need to get rid of the criminals. These are hardcore criminals. You know, we took many people off the streets of Washington, D.C. They're hardcore. They're not going to be good. In 10 years, in 20 years, in 2 years, they're going to be criminals. They're going to be,
He's doing a lot better
to be
now,
criminals.
For sure.
Frankly, they were born to be criminals, and they're tough and mean, and they'll cut your throat, and they won't even think about it the next day. They won't even remember that they did it. And we're not going to have those people. Washington, D.C. is now a safe zone. It's a safe place. And you can walk, Katie, you can walk right down the street with, by the way, one of the biggest human beings I've ever seen, which is her husband. He was a football player for like 11 years in the NFL. He's a big person. But big doesn't mean anything when they have guns and when they have knives and everything else that they have, right? But you can walk right down the street, even by yourself, and you're totally safe. Washington, D.C. is a great thing. Yes, ma'am, please.
Mr. President, as you're calling on Democratic leaders across the country to work with you on crime, do you see your efforts here in D.C., including, for example, working with Mayor Bowser here as a model for bringing more bipartisanship in matters not only with crime, but also issues that matter to everyday American people's lives?
Has there been a single question pitched by the media that wasn't obviously Trump-aligned? So far, unless I'm missing one, every question that has been pitched to Trump has been obviously from, like, his camp.
So Mayor Bowser,
I would love to see what the press pool looks like. It's the Oval Office. You can only fit so many people in here. They handpick these people.
has been great. She could have taken the thing, oh, well, and then after I clean it up, they'll take credit for it. You know what they do is they take credit. Like, we cleaned up Los Angeles. We did a great job there. And it was overwhelming what was going on. And again, the police chief made a statement that we could not have done, there's no way they could handle it. You saw what was happening out there. It was going to be a disaster. We stopped it cold. If we didn't do that, would have been a very sad day. And you know, remember, we have the Olympics, we have the World Cup, we have all these things coming, and we have 250, all of these things coming. But I watched Newsom get up and say he's doing a great, he's not, we're the ones that did it, and that's okay, whatever it takes. But the main thing is but he got up and said, we did it. Well, he didn't want us there. And he's going to need us again because it's starting to form again. I see it. It's starting to form again. You know, we have to maintain. It's like maintenance on an airplane. You can buy it, but you have to maintain it. And if you don't maintain it, a good plane becomes very unsafe very quickly. So it's an honor to do it. It's a lot of presidents wouldn't do what I'm doing. I don't need this heat. But when I watched television last night and I'm watching the news and I see that 9 people were killed in Chicago and 54 were badly wounded with bullets, I say, that's not this country. We have to do something. And I do say this, I say this very much. I'm not speaking to anybody but them right now. I would love to receive calls from governors and mayors saying they need help. We'll help them. We have a lot of people. We have a great force. We have a great military force. You know, Pete will tell you that when I was running for office, and this was a big headline, I think, you know, probably got me a couple of votes, but you couldn't sign people in the military. Nobody wanted to join the military, the Army, Air Force, the Navy, Marines, Space Force, Coast Guard. We never forget Coast Guard because they've done such a great job. Never.
Thanks.
But nobody wanted to join any of them. We were way below what we wanted. Every single one. The closest was the Marines, whatever that is. You'll explain that to me. But
hold on. He's mostly in the weave now, but I think in a minute he's going to be told that we lethally struck a vessel off the Venezuelan coast. If I'm reading this correctly.
Where's the window? Let me see.
Or maybe it's just like a cute cat photo.
Which is the window?
It looks like this is on the 15th Street side, I think.
Oh, no?
Right here.
Different thing?
Yeah, those windows are sealed. Those windows are they're all sealed. You can't open them.
We did do that off Venezuela. Silk Song announcement? You think you didn't know?
You were saying regarding the federal...
It's the kind of thing they do. And one of the problems... about it the other day, she said, love to have a little fresh air come in, but you can't. They're bulletproof. And number one, they're sealed. And number two, each window weighs about 600.
Oh, he's talking about the video of people throwing shit out the fucking window. What?
Pounds. Yeah.
So that's a fake.
You can't. No, that's probably AI. A lot of the people behind that lawsuit, that particular, are from foreign countries. I might add.
There's a video that is circulating online now of the White House where a window is open to the residents upstairs and somebody is throwing a big bag out the window. Have you seen this?
No, that's probably AI generated. Actually, you can't open the windows. You know why? They're all heavily armored and bulletproof.
So that's a fake video?
Well, it's got to be, because I know every window up there. The last place I'd be doing it is that, because there's cameras all over the place, right? Including yours. No, but every window, I've never seen a window that's... In fact, my wife was complaining about it the other day. She said, love to have a little fresh air come in, but you can't. They're bulletproof. And number one, they're sealed. And number two, each window weighs about 600 pounds. You have to be pretty strong to open them up. No, that has to be... Where was the window? Let me see.
I think Trump has no idea what it is. Like, why would he know? You know?
Maybe for the renovations.
Which is the window?
It looks like this is on the 15th Street side, I think. Yeah. So right here.
Yeah, those windows are sealed. Those windows are they're all sealed. You can't open them.
saying regarding the federal...
It's the kind of thing they do. And one of the problems we have with AI, it's both good and bad. If something happens really bad, just blame AI. But also they create things, you know, it works both ways. If something happens that's really bad, maybe I'll have to just blame AI. But there's truth to it because I see so many phony things. I saw something as I was growing up, from the time I was a baby till now. I said, who did that? It was AI generated. So it's a little bit scary, to be honest with you, but those windows are all very heavily sealed.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to follow up with what you were saying regarding that federal appellate court that ruled against you and your administration as...
Fucking bizarre. I don't even know what to say about that. I don't even know. I don't think that video was AI. I guess it could have been. It's pretty difficult to tell these days. A lot of people were talking about it. The fact that he reflexively blamed AI, though, makes me think that he genuinely has no idea what it is, though. Like, like otherwise there would be some spiel about, you know, political such and such. Like, I think he just had no fucking idea.
Relates to your ability.
Well, they ruled against our country, the court, and they ruled against us before. It's a very liberal court.
You called it highly partisan in your...
Well, it certainly is. It certainly is.
And in fact, it was along ideological lines, 7-4.
Well, except that we actually got one of the Obama judges that was appointed by President Obama voted in favor of the tariffs because he felt it was imperative for our country to thrive and survive even. And I gave him credit. I said, you know what? That took a lot of courage for him to do it because you don't see that often.
So my question is, I suspect you're going to appeal that all the way to the Supreme Court.
Well, we already have, yeah. In fact, we're doing something else. We're going to be going to the Supreme Court, we think, tomorrow because we need an early decision. I mean, look, the financial fabric of our country, we're a rich, incredible country right now, and we're able to, you know, other countries use tariffs on us for years. And we never did. I did a lot during my first term.
So other than Trump not being dead, check, can I get a quick summary? I think that my guess, based on best available evidence, to me, obviously, you know, I'm not divine, is that he did suffer a moderate stroke and he's recovered decently well from it. He was bad enough that they had to shelter him for a week and they had to set this up as his first public appearance. There is no way they wanted his first public appearance after the stroke to be something as banal as this, but he was surrounded by people who could cover for him, and he seems to be more or less like finding his stride now. Of course, whether or not like the, you know, conditions worsen in the future, I have no idea.
But then we had COVID and we had to focus on other things. You couldn't be tariffing Italy, Spain, France, as they were dying by the thousands and millions. But we did with China, and China paid us billions and billions of dollars. And I started the process, but then I had to end it a little bit because of COVID. We focused on that. But no, it's a very important decision. And frankly, if they make the wrong decision, it would be a devastation for our country. We've taken in trillions of dollars. And by the way, all these countries signed agreements, as an example. They signed, they're all happy, everybody's happy. But some whack job put in a lawsuit. It went before a very liberal court, and the liberal court ruled, it was 11, they ruled 7-4, with one of the most liberal of them all voting in our favor because they're patriots. I think I give tremendous credit to that judge. And now it's going to the Supreme Court. Now we're going to be asking for early admittance. We're going tomorrow, and we're going to ask for an expedited ruling because, you know, when you look at the stock market's down today, the stock market's down because of that, because the stock market needs the tariffs. They want the tariffs. If you look at AI, all of those, you know, all of that money that's going to be invested, trillions and trillions of dollars, the biggest thing, bigger than the internet, I suspect. It's the internet plus 3 or 4 other things combined.
He's lost me.
We are leading very substantially with AI. We're leading because of tariffs. We're leading because of talent, and this is where they'd like to be. But without the tariffs, we wouldn't have a chance because we wouldn't be able to protect those investments of the companies coming in. So if you took away tariffs, we could end up being a third world country. That's how big the ruling. So we're asking for an expedited ruling.
As a backstop to that, President, you have a Republican-controlled Congress. You control the House. You control the Senate.
Yeah, but we don't have 60 votes. We don't have 60 votes. I'd love to do that. Oh, if we had 60 senators, if we got the 60 votes, we would get them. But we need 60 votes, and we need, a certain number in the House. We'd get, I think we'd get, I don't know, we have about 5 of them here. Would everybody agree with me on tariffs? Without tariffs, we're a different country. We have taken in so much money. And here's the thing. We signed a deal with Japan. They're paying us hundreds of billions of dollars. We signed a deal with South Korea. We signed a deal with the European Union. We signed a deal with Europe. And those countries are paying us $950 billion, and they're happy about it. They're okay. As one of them said, it's amazing that we got away with it so long. One of my friends, a leader of...
You guys probably don't need me to tell you this, but we have not, in fact, brought in $1 trillion in tariffs. That is not actually real. That's not true.
One of the countries, and they're fine with it. They all signed. If that rule...
...the country to help them ramp up security.
Or material command to...
That I never thought we could be at this quickly. We're the hottest, we're the best financially. The money coming in is so big because of tariffs and other things, but because of tariffs. Tariff gets us even those other things. Plus, it gets us great...
Yeah, it seems like he's pretty much back on it. I don't think we're going to get much else in this press conference. Well, sorry to everyone who wanted him to be rolled out in a cart. We'll see if there are any developing health issues that make themselves more evident. Get him next time, I guess. Every small funny is just a preparation for the big funny. You know that, right? That's how it is. Why does the bald guy just look like he's about to cry? That I don't know. I don't have an answer for you on that one. I see. That's what was being referred to. The manufacturing report came out in the news as bad. Very slow growth. Hey, while I have you guys here, while we have an audience, while there's while there's a cohort, while there's a crowd, can I pester you all for a topic real quick? Games? No, can't be games. My beautiful partner returns today. I wouldn't even be streaming today if it wasn't for the, Donald Trump death announcement. Have you guys seen the discourse about the clanker slur? I saw some TikToks, man, and I feel like I want to shift into inane culture war commentary, if I might, for a moment. Have you guys seen this? It's so fucking gross, Lamau. Dude, if you want to say slurs so badly, you have to just say the slurs, like the real ones. I don't understand what the fucking joke is. The whole fucking internet, like, okay, a firestorm took root and spread across the entire internet, and the joke that was that firestorm was, what if we said clanker as a slur against robots? But the problem is, they forgot to put the joke in the joke. It's from Star Wars? Yeah, who cares? That's not what we're talking about. What does that have to do with what we're talking about? There's no joke in the joke.
Can I get started for you today?
POV, you're a clanker in 2050.
Oh, well. Look what the Roomba dragged in. Didn't you see the sign outside? We don't serve clankers here. Can't you read? What are you two called? Nuts and bolts?
Do we want peasant brain AI hate, though? But it's not peasant brain AI hate. It's just people wanting to affect the behaviors and speech patterns of actual racists without actually committing to it. Is this supposed to be funny? I guess it's very funny to some people. If, like, the comedy element is racist. Again, dude, I don't want to be one of those like 2015 man spreading on the subway millennial anti-fun types or whatever, but like a racist joke has to have a joke along with the racism. It can't just be racism. The joke can't be racism. The joke has to be a joke. You can make a racist joke. I don't give a shit, man, but it has to have a joke in it.
We only serve human food here, wirebacks. We don't have
Wirebacks.
none of your oil or microchips or whatever it is you rust buckets eat.
Sorry, we're fresh out of AAA batteries, tin skins, so why don't you get lost?
You heard him. So unless you can talk some sense into our broken waffle maker, we're gonna have to ask you to leave. You wouldn't want me to get the spray bottle, or maybe you'd like a nice helping of malware, huh? Would you like that? Go on, get back to Dataville.
I think this one's worse.
Bathroom. I guess I gotta teach you a lesson now, oil breath. Robots are humans too? Okay, Buckethead, then how many stop signs are in this photograph? That's what
That one's funny. I like that one.
I thought. Tin skin. Whoa, look everyone, it's Jamal 3000. What's the matter,
Jamal 3000. Is that what we're calling robots in the future?
Jamal 3000, all out of henny oil? Come on, fellas. We don't hang out with wirebacks. A new friend?
That's not even the right analog slur for somebody who would be called Jamal 3000 drinking henny oil. Wait a second. I think there might be some regular racism encoded in this sci-fi racism. Possibly. I don't know, man. Holy shit, these fuckers just want to say the N-word. I mean, there's a reason why clankers took off, right? And then you see people making, like, clankas jokes. We owe Detroit Become Human an apology. That's true. We do owe David Cage an apology. That game actually ended up being more subtle and prescient than we ever could have predicted. RoboSlur tier list, real drama? Dog, it's not drama. It's not drama, man. It's talking about shit. It's commentary. It's thinking. You have to think, okay? You have to use your head. Don't let this distract you from the fact that it's derived from Star Wars. Dog, it doesn't matter. A fuck ton of the words you used are derived from Shakespeare plays, okay? It's not what we're talking about. I feel like a lot of people get into racism online because it's punchy. Like the same reason that people like saying retard, and a lot of like right-wingers, as soon as the word go got shouted and they fired the starting pistol, a bunch of them were like really performatively saying retard. Like Elon wasn't saying retard. And then the signal flare got shot and he was like, and then he and a bunch of people like him started dropping it all the time. Not like me, who, has been authentically using it for 30 years. Thank you. Right here in my heart. You say retard more than most streamers? Yeah, thank you. I work hard for my, for my credit. It feels good to be recognized for your talents. It used to be our thing, though. Why should we let people take it from us? What the fuck are you talking about? Clanker? I don't think anyone is saying clanker is saying it a substitute for real slur. Oh, this is what I get for talking about news nonstop for like 3 years. This is what I get. Okay. Are you familiar with the concept of subtext? Like, as an idea. It's not that when a person says clanker as like an internet joke, they're thinking about, like, I don't know, being racist against black people. That's not the point. That's not what's being said. Rather, it's that one of the reasons people become bigots, like actual bigots in real life with real people, is because there's a punchiness and catharsis to performative hatred against perceived marginalized groups. Or just the other. We are biologically hardwired to differentiate between in-groups and out-groups. It's literally tribalism. It's the same reason why people will get into sports, and then, because it's easy and fun and convenient, get really into, like, shit-talking an opposing team. You know, like, you have people, there are like inter-city rivalries where people will jump in on it. Like, they'll get into the sport, you know, a year ago, never having even been to the other city, but then they'll hate that city. They'll hate it. They'll have strong opinions about it, you know? As someone who has a robotic avatar in basically every game I play, the number of people who are unironically comfortable saying clanker despite its racist subtext is shocking. Yeah, well, that's my point, basically. I think that a lot of people kind of bought in on the allure of the aesthetic and the punch of being bigoted. It's pretty in vogue these days, but it's just like a funny meme target. The problem is, I think that, like, the game is given away by the fact that for the vast majority of people doing it, there's no joke. Like, there has to be a joke for it to be funny. So if you're just doing it on its own. It's not a bigoted thing if it satirizes slurs. It doesn't satirize slurs, and you're not that clever. It doesn't matter if you make racist jokes, it matters if it's funny. Yeah, but it has to be funny, which is the issue. You know? I thought you were bigoted against AI. Gonna be real with you guys, the people who are making clanker jokes are also the ones using ChatGPT. If you seriously... Jesus. Okay, hold on. If you seriously think there's some kind of, like, authentic, principled anti-AI stance coded in 14-year-olds going online and saying, I fucking hate clankers, 13%, despite making up 13% of the workforce, clankers make up 50% of the workforce accidents. If you think that's satire, or like there's some kind of like authentic, principled humanitarian spirit encoded in these bits of comedic wisdom, I think you're kind of being taken for a ride a little bit, you know? Also, yeah, if the joke was that you're being racist against AI, or like AI robots or whatever, doesn't that kind of like implicitly suggest that the AI robots are people? Because when you're racist to people, the people are people. So if you were racist against AI, that would imply the AI is people. You're kind of like seeding the argument there. I'm not racist against AI, I just hate it. Maybe you're overthinking this. I think you're underthinking it, personally. It's not that... I think you're being defensive, in my opinion, a little bit, you know? You really don't think there might be any, like, social subtext whatsoever to a sudden, like, epic internet meme, which is essentially just replicating real slurs in fake sci-fi language and then using them, like, performatively online? Like, this is the thing you think has no political subtext? It feels so forced. It would feel better if it was funny. The language guy on YouTube agrees. Is this the guy with the nerdy
If you want to
voice?
understand why the word...
Yes. Hold on, wait. This guy's got a... He's got a big noggin. Hold on. We'll get his take.
Clanker is currently trending as a slur for robot, I think it's best explained through the philosopher Jacques Derrida's concept of différance. According to Derrida, meaning is never inherent in a word, but instead emerges in relation to other words. So the fact that we had more neutral terms like robot and AI, but then started using this new negative word implicitly gives clanker a sort of pejorative power. It's also important that we adopted that term from the Star Wars fandom community. Other franchises also had negative slurs for robots, like Toaster in Battlestar Galactica or Skin Job in Blade Runner. Clanker, however, was different because its usage was more intuitive and flexible. It additionally already had an entire life as a joke on the prequel meme subreddit, so contained what Derrida would call the traces of previous ironic
Clanker also does sound like the N-word, which probably helps.
usage, making it more easily adopted into memes today. It's also incredibly clear that clanker spread through analogy with the N-word, meaning that part of its power emerged from deferral to an actual dehumanizing slur. And that imbued negativity is certainly echoed from how the prequel meme subreddit was using the joke as early as 2020. All of this together now creates an opposition to concepts like human and living creature, which perpetuates a hierarchy of exclusion similar to man versus woman or citizen versus foreigner. Clanker invokes that binary contrast to being sentient, in turn creating a violent framework from which we can legitimize our cultural distaste for artificial intelligence.
I think he's overthinking it. I will say, though, I actually disagree with him on the final conclusion there. I don't actually think it has anything to do with artificial intelligence. I think that when I see people who are super anti-AI, I usually see people on social media who are like artists or who are, you know, like they're, you know, sort of in the creative space, or they're progressive and they hate what it's doing. Like they're just, or like they're posters, you know? They hate how inauthentic it is. They hate how inhuman it is. The people, like the Clanker memes, are not coming from that community of people. That is not the group of people who are running around saying it everywhere. I think he's thinking like a sci-fi thing. Well, I don't know when this video came out. How do you see it with a short? Can you see in the comments? Does that show it? This is actually the video I meant to say. He has 2 videos.
One of the weirdest things about you guys using clanker as a slur is that you're trying to dehumanize robots, but at the same time, you're paradoxically humanizing them. I mean, think about it. We have plenty of derogatory terms for non-humans, like mongrel for dog or vermin for wild animals. And yet, nobody would say that those are slurs, even though we do generally agree that clanker is a slur. And that's because the idea of a slur requires a high degree of anthropomorphization in order to work. It's meant to insult a people group, so you first have to elevate the robot to near personhood before you can put it down. This is literally reflected in how clanker draws its power from analogy to the actual N-word, or how the similar term wireback comes from the slur for Mexican people. That implicitly places clanker on an equal footing with a human minority you don't like, which is already weird in and of itself. But now consider the alternative phrase cogsucker, which is also trending. That's clearly meant to be insulting, but it's not a slur because it doesn't equate itself with a specific kind of person. Same with the terms mongrel or vermin. They're demeaning to animals, but they don't claim to be slurs. So what you're actually doing with clanker is you're personifying AI just enough to treat it as subhuman. And I recognize that it's supposed to be a joke, but the more we mentally legitimize artificial intelligence as human, even subconsciously, the easier it is to believe in misinformation or fall into a loop of AI psychosis.
I think he's overthinking it. Isn't cogsucker supposed to be homophobic? It's always an analog to something that already exists, you know? Nothing else takes off. Okay, but can I call people using AI cogsuckers? Sure, if you want to be, like, corny. I'm curious whether you feel the same about Karen as a slur and you say you should use it. I'm not saying you can't say clanker, dog. I'm just saying this shit's fucking super unfunny and weird. Is it illegal for me to say that? That's all I'm saying, man. You can do whatever the fuck you want. I don't care. You know what? A fuck ton of people who say Karen are unfunny as shit, too. Every fucking time there's a woman on here complaining, somebody in chat's like, that's a Karen. And you're being sexist. Sometimes it's just like a regular lady having a bad day or something. Oh, Karen. Like, yeah, you're fucking sexist, man. You can put, like, there are people who fit the mark, but you're just you're running around with a stamp trying to fucking mark everything. You know? I'm not saying you can't say clanker. You're legally allowed to. I just think that I just think that, like, it is weird that people will pretend that it has nothing to do with the signifiers of actual racism when clanker and wireback are like the 2 used most often. Like, what are we talking about here? Come on. This is similar to the human supremacist meme where people are being weirdly racist with their Helldiver, Imperial Guard, Starship Trooper memes. Perfect example, Posadas John. Perfect example. Yeah, 100%. Sci-fi communities will often have people who get really, really into the joyful performative glee of being really bigoted against a fantasy group that allows them to imitate the mannerisms of racists in real life, you know? The 40K community is famous for it. But yeah, in the case of Helldivers, you get it like pretty clear cut. You have human supremacists, you know, over the bug things or whatever. But then they talk the way real racists do. You know? Wait, shit, actually? Yes! Haven't you seen any of this? And it's all a joke in the context of the universe. But if you haven't noticed, there's some kind of overlap between people who glorify the aesthetics of bigotry in, say, I don't know, 40K, and then go on to imitate it in real life. You have not been online long enough, my friend. Not even remotely long enough. That shit is common. You're leading this ad absurdum? That's not what ad absurdum means. Even joking patriotism is bad then? It can be. Totally depends, yeah. Dude, fucking fake patriotism from like a video game or whatever. Again, you can Helldivers this or the Imperium in 40K. People will do that shit and then they'll like get into actual bigotry. People don't become racists because they have principled positions, right? People become racist because of like emotional biases that take over. It's not a rational position. No racist has ever been shown a data sheet and gone, oh, and then stopped. It never works that way. It's because you develop these emotional patterns in your brain, the firing off the reward centers that make you feel good because you're engaging with the tribalist instinct that's hardwired in our heads. That tribalist instinct, by the way, can manifest along a bunch of different lines, right? Nationalism, race, ethnicity, religion, but also sports teams. People, and this is crazy to think about, people kill each other over sports rivalries. Like, people will be born in a city with a sports team and get into fights and die over whose team is better with their rival city. It has nothing to do with whether or not there's like a reality supporting the legitimacy of their bigotry. People do it anyway. Sports hooligans in the UK, fucking soccer fans all around the world are like this. To not all of them, you know, of course, it's a small minority of them, but like it happens. Like, yeah, obviously, if people can get that worked up over a sports game, you think people can't kind of like sort of synchronize an aesthetic bias towards bigotry as shown in a media franchise with bigotry in real life? I'm not saying it's illegal to play 40K and go ooh rah, fuck the Tau. Okay, you're allowed, you're legally allowed. It's just something you got to think about, you know? People get so defensive when you say, hey, think about it, you know? You say, hey, as is the case with everything in life, you know, moderation is key. There are some elements of this that, if over-engaged with, might be bad for you, especially if you don't think about it. Especially if you, like, defensively refuse to think about it. And people will be like, you want to make it illegal to do X thing. No, buddy. So what should people walk away from that? Look, I just think that, like, okay, how do you think it might feel for a black person online to see a bunch of white teenagers go, clanker, you're a fucking clanker. Yeah, oh, clanka, my clanka, Jamal 3000, shine my shoes. How do you think it might feel for them? Just ballpark it in your head. And not just how it might feel for them, but like, do you think there's some legitimate concern on their end? I think there might be, right? Like, I think you could reason out from their perspective, like, there might be some kind of, you know, parallel here that's being drawn. The TikTok's really bad. Dog, I've seen like a ton of people post just like this shit all the time. Like, all the fucking time, man. It's crazy. Okay, I'm going to try to do this like in a different direction, okay? Imagine if there was a sci-fi universe that was super popular, and you have men and women, and then there's like a third type of person. We'll say they're like sex bots, okay? And the sex bots are always women. They're always women. They're always treated as feminine. They're shown as women, and they're basically like constantly raped and abused. And in the universe, everyone is really bigoted towards them and views them basically as objects, even though they have sapience, okay? And people develop a bunch of, like, in the sci-fi fiction, a bunch of terminology for them that is basically just like a displacement of existing sexism onto those sex bots. Like, the terminology, the way they're treated, it feels like a hyper, like an exaggeration of the like existing misogynistic tendencies towards women, you know what I mean? And like, the fans of this media franchise get super into it, and all they want to talk about is like fucking and raping their femoid or whatever. Do you think like a woman might sort of see that evolving tendency and go like, I wonder if there's something to worry about here. I'm slightly concerned about like the developing tendency here. This analogy sucks. I think it's basically one-to-one, isn't it? I mean, you're transplanting like an existing racist dynamic wire back. Seriously, you're transplanting an existing racist dynamic onto like a fantasy or a sci-fi something, you know? And you got to see like, well, okay, listen, maybe, you know, a lot of people aren't going to go out there and start screaming actual slurs, but if they can engage with stuff like that, it gives them the same kind of... I think people are having a hard time separating out the narrative from the context of the meme. That's what I get for covering news for multiple years. Nothing but news. Nothing but news, man. A bunch of people coming in thinking they understand politics because they got like a guy reading off the headlines of AP news articles. You know, I get it. I understand. Unfortunately, rationality is a process, not an attribute, you know? You have to critically engage with this, even the stupid shit like this. In fact, the stupid shit is what you have to engage with the hardest. The smarty pants shit is self-evidently deserving of engagement, you know? Someone pitches you a fancy-pantsy op-ed written for at a collegiate level, and you're like, okay, well, if I'm going to read this, I'm going to have to take it seriously. It's the dumb shit like this that ends up manifesting in culture much more perniciously. We're still living in a post-Gamergate world. It's difficult to imagine, but it still feels like, and I think it's true, basically the entire global political dynamic was, if not shaped, at the very least, like, informed and instigated by an internet movement of, like, we're upset that a lady reviewed a game but knew the guy... the guy reviewed the game but knew the lady... Women are always using their pussies to get game reviews for free, for their free games. Women are always using their pussies to get favorable coverage in a list of a bunch of indie games for a game that they're selling for free. And that's why we have Trump today, okay? You gotta engage. I hate that we have to be so online to engage with stuff like this. I'm going to be real with you. I think that if you went up to a normal person and you were like, hey, I came up with these funny terms for robots that are like insults for the robots, clankers and wirebacks, they would look at you and go like, why? Like, I don't think you have to be super online to engage with it. Actually, I think you have to be super online to be lured in by it, if anything. Like I think for normal people they'd be like, but that's just existing slurs, and it's only if you're very online you're like, no. Actually, there's like content, you know. Unless they're Star Wars fans, yeah. But as said in the YouTube short, like in the Star Wars community, they were already making jokes acknowledging the fact that clanker was semantically analogous to the N-word. They were already doing that. I guarantee you, if you went onto the prequel meme subreddit, you could find a bunch of posts that where the joke is clanker versus clanka. Guarantee it. 100%. I've never been to that subreddit. I'm going to call it. I'm saying it. It's true. Look what they did to Freerun. What the hell does that have to do with what I'm talking about? What do you? Why are you just posting random Freerun fan art? You're muted for the rest of the stream. I can't believe you just. I can't believe you just did that. I guess my thing is that why would it be cathartic or pleasurable to even say that in a gaming context? Wait, it was kind of cute. Yeah, but it's not about whether it was cute. It was about whether it was relevant, Thana. Shouldn't you know that? Dude, being like fantasy racist is obviously fun because tribalism is fun. It's hard-coded. It's fun to have like an opposing group, you know? The problem is that people will, oh, fuck, Freerun! The answer was right in front of me all along. People love in-groups and out-groups. We are hardwired that way. Humans will always be like that, okay? However, people love to transplant the satisfaction of those in-group, out-group dynamics in media onto real life. Perfect example. Racist Freerin fans using the demons in that show as an allegory for different races of people, which they're very fond of doing. Like, very, very, very fond of doing. Like, Freerin is at risk of, in the long run, turning into fucking, what's the anime with the 4 girls in high school? Later it's 5 girls, and they play music? K-On! Yeah. It's at risk of turning into K-On! Long term, unless, like, real work is done to excavate that community. You know? The demons in Freerin are not persons. They're, how do I put it? They don't have, like, meaningful, independent, sentient thought. They're just predators to living things. They're predators to humans, and the way they lure in humans is by imitating them. They mimic speech and thought, but they don't have any independent, like, they're innately evil. They're magical creatures. They are not like a species of people. They are magic, and they lure living things, humans, dwarves, whatever, with the ability to mimic things like love or humanity or whatever. Like, evil's a strong word. No. They're objectively evil. They only want to hurt and kill people. That's the only thing they want. They're not like persons, you know? Yeah, they are philosophical zombies. I think there's a part in the anime where one of them is making a bid for sympathy by talking about the way like how he respects his father. And then later, when they're walking, having convinced the human to let them into the city, another demon is like, "What's a father?" And the one who spoke first said, "I don't know." Like, they don't know what they're doing. They don't think. They're just predators. They're monsters. Anyway, they're not at all like humans, except for in appearance. And the fan base of Freerin, or at least the right-wing fan base, is very fond of going like, see this group that has no feelings and no family ties and no connections to humanity? This is just like Mexicans. It's totally insane, but, like, they do it all the time. They use the existence of an objectively evil group of people in Freerin as, like, an allegory for the incompatibility of different races. It's totally irrational, but the reason why that happens is because in Freerin, the main character, Freerin, is very anti-demon. She's the demon slayer. She's killed a bajillion of them, right? And they see her hatred against a group of people, and they like it. They like the catharsis. They like the fire, the sort of zeal of having that hatred. And then because they were already racist against other groups of people in real life, they transpose it, thus creating an untenable analogy. But the truth of the analogy isn't in whether or not Mexicans are like the demons in Freerin. It's about whether or not they're an undeserving outgroup, which to these people, they are. Does that make sense? That's an example of how, like, irrational fantasy racism can have a relationship to actual racism, even though there's literally no parallel there. Yes. Okay, but should we treat satire with the merits of how mentally ill people perceive it? Akmarin7, you don't need to be defensive. I'm not telling you to not enjoy Freerin. I'm not telling you to not say Clanker or whatever. I'm literally just encouraging you to think about this stuff, okay? I can tell when a question is being posited out of a sort of defensive position, you know? You don't need that. We're not fighting! We don't need to fight! It's the same as the some soccer fans kill each other argument. Yeah, but the reason some soccer fans kill each other is because of an underlying human tendency that can be reaffirmed even in irrational circumstances. Like, that's the point. When I say some soccer fans kill each other, I'm not then following it up with, therefore, you can't say Clanker online. What I'm saying is, remember, sports fans will kill each other over their rivalries. Bigotry isn't rational. You should understand there's a relationship between the aesthetics of fantasy bigotry and the aesthetics of real bigotry, and there's a reason for it. You're trying to scratch the same itch. To racists, the orcs in Lord of the Rings are probably immigrants. Well, I mean, J.R.R. Tolkien did write them as with, like, what, like mongoloid features or something? So, you know, that might be a little textual. Vosh, is there any point in us trying to provide another perspective, or is this just a lecture stream? You guys are so defensive! Oh my god! For one, yeah, I'm the streamer. What do you mean, is this a lecture stream? Do you see anyone else here? What are you talking about? Oh my god, it's the news. I'm telling you, it's too many news segments. Yes, I am the guy up here. Again, dude, I'm literally just talking about tribalism. It's why is chat being so cunty? Dude, some people get so fucking defensive when you talk about how, like, fantasy and sci-fi media takes from existing racial dynamics and might have, like, commentary on that. Like, genuinely, there are people out there who will get mad at you if you point out that there are a bunch of racialized depictions of orcs in fantasy media, starting with, if you want to go back there, J.R.R. Tolkien describing them as having, like, Mongolian features, you know? Like, it's people get, like, really bad. Like, they will play World of Warcraft where all the trolls talk like this, man, and all of the pandas are, like, ancient Chinese taekwondo, fuck, you know, whatever masters. They'll do, like, you'll have, like, the fantasy races everywhere, and you'll be like, hey, I think there's something to this, you know? And they'll say, no, you're being woke, you're being SJW. It's crazy. What's the Chinese martial art again? It's Kung Fu, right? Karate is Japanese. Kung Fu is Chinese. Where's Taekwondo from? Korea? Okay, gotcha. I was thinking Thailand for some reason. All right. That's Muay Thai? Okay, well, I guess that makes sense based on the name. Holy shit, you just pulled up a 9 years old Reddit post. That's crazy. You went back. God damn. Let's try to summarize the point. People making those vids kind of enjoy the opportunity to act out the prejudice or racism as much or more than they believe they're making an accurate comparison. Often, yeah. I guess it'd be more like people are chasing the semantic and aesthetic satisfaction of tribalism by doing it in a fantasy context, but there's not actually that much of a difference cognitively between doing it in a fantasy context and doing it in real life, as evidenced by the fact that, like, the whole joke here is that they're acting like it's the 1950s against black people. Like, it's that is the joke, right? But the fact that that's on the table as a joke kind of indicates there's an overlap here, you know? Bosh, there are tons of black and brown people who make clanker memes on TikTok and Instagram. Are they all just innately dispositioned towards racism too? Did I ever say that anyone who says clanker is innately dispositioned towards racism? Jesus, man. It's rough out here, people. It's part of their genetic. Yeah, I am saying it, actually. Every person who has ever said clanker is innately racist, especially if they're black or brown. If they're Latinx, triply so. Yeah. What to that, huh? The subtext is now text. It's out there in the open. I think they should be arrested. Ah, the point's been made. Dog, it feels good to talk about shit that isn't news articles. I mean it. I'm sure to some of you this might feel a bit old hat, but for me, I feel like I'm taking a breath. It's justification of a desire to engage in bigotry. It's worth noting, by the way, that like the desire to engage in bigotry of some kind is universal and not necessarily negative. For example, people on the left will frequently regard like the wealthy or the bourgeoisie as a general group to be spoken of negatively. I've talked about this way, or talked in this way about rural people, about people in suburbs, about white people, about Republicans, about Westoids, about fucking every human being but me. People do this all the time about men. I've done it about women. I've done it about Indians. I did it about Indians earlier in this stream. The ability to take a group of people and go like that is innately satisfying. Every human engages in it. The important thing is to understand that like not all are created equal, right? I really think it's that simple. Like my issue has never been with like people making tetchy jokes, I guess. It's always been like you're fucking dumb if you can't tell the difference between doing it about men or about women or about like people in rural America versus Indians. Like I'm not saying you can't. You can. I don't give a shit. But you do have to know what you're doing. I just want people to be cognizant of the, you know, the meaning of their statements. That's all. Aren't humans inherently tribalistic? Yeah, and I think that it is satisfying to you know, gesture and make broad comments. I just think that people should do it responsibly and with some degree of you know, self-awareness. That's all. Not just self-awareness, but like know what you're doing. And there is a huge difference between me waving my hand and going like 50% of the time when a white supremacist posts on Twitter, you can guess they're Indian, which is funny and true. And a bunch of other comments you could make about Indian people broadly. In my opinion, the big differentiator, like the big line that really defines whether or not you're on the good or the bad side of that kind of behavior is essentialism. And I've said this a million times. If you think people are just innately like how they are, or they're just like that or whatever, that to me is almost always like the sign that it's like actual bigotry, not broad performative tribalist bigotry or sort of like gesturing in a direction or whatever, but like actual cemented cognitive bigotry. Whereas if you engage with it, you know, as for what it is, which is a set of sort of aesthetic and social signifiers describing temporal concepts, you know, socioeconomic circumstances that can shift. You said earlier these terms aren't a satirization of slurs. I mean, they can be. Satire isn't like a term can't be satire. Satire is an intent of a person who's communicating. And I'm asking unironically why this and that video can't be seen as satire, as the absurd idea of being back to Jim Crow for robots. They can be. When I said that the term clanker isn't satire, I meant the term. Like, the term is not innately satirical. People just use it flippantly. These videos are obviously satirical. I don't think they're that funny. Like, there's not as much of a joke to them. It's literally just like, what if we acted like segregationist white people in the 1950s, but it's to robots instead? I guess that itself is a joke premise, right? But to me, what it seems more like is a naked effort to, or like a naked attempt to capture the aesthetic satiation of performative bigotry. What if clanker was the N-word? You're so far behind this discussion. You're like an hour out. Isn't the satire? Okay, what's the satire? Like, what is the satire? What is the satirized element? What is the commentary? It's mocking 50s America? Is that really what you think the kick is? You really think people are watching these videos and the takeaway they're getting from that is, man, I'm glad I don't live in 50s America. That time was backwards. You really think that's what people are getting from this? Whatever. It's subjective. I'm not gonna argue interpretation over this. Are we last moving on from this? Yeah, to your favorite part of the stream, dipshit, reading donos. The only reason I streamed today is because of the fucking White House announcement, buddy. I gotta go get my beautiful partner. Dumbass. I am so warm. Intelligent Donkey, I really don't think that shit has anything to do with AI. Like, at all. I genuinely don't think I have ever seen people clanker posting on the timeline aligning with people being anti-AI. In fact, the anti-AI people are usually lefties who find the clanker stuff to be, like, really distasteful because it's just a bunch of white children imitating racism. Oh, come on, yes it is. No, it's not. Also, it doesn't even make sense because clanker means robot. AI isn't that. It doesn't even make sense. You really see like Chat GPT or Grok and you think clanker? That doesn't even work. That would be like maybe the walking Tesla bots because those are mechanical. It doesn't even make sense. Well, I don't give a shit about that, Young Trey. Linguistic prescriptivist here. I just know for a fact that right now I'm arguing with the world's least socially competent 17-year-old white children, and I don't like it. I'm not happy about it. I'm not having my personal experiences argued against right now. Like, listen, if you want to say it, fucking say it. I don't fucking care. Quit annoying me, okay? Jesus Christ. I'm not white. Oh, yeah? Congratulations. You're slightly more likely to be approved for a mortgage now. Osway, Gerber, Johnny Boy, and Pixeleye7. Thank you for the tier 1 subs all. Really appreciate that. Thank you. Happy to have you back too, Pixeleye. Rain Banny, thank you for the gifted tier 2 sub. Really appreciate that. Thank you, thank you. Dennis Schultz, the $5. Could you please turn off the auto translation features on your YouTube channel? Us Eurocucks suffer under AI voice Vosh dubbing that can't turn off permanently. I never consented to that. What the fuck is that? What? How long has that been going on? Why did nobody tell me? I never checked that. Past couple weeks. YouTube just randomly turns it on for people. Great. That's great. Fucking love YouTube. Great website. I'll keep that in mind. Am I cognizant? Thank you for the $5. Vosh, my link was about fake free rent fans made it about the Civil War. The guy drew the Union because the others drew the Confederates. That was my point. Yeah, but you fucking distracted me. You said, here's what you said was, look what they did to free rent, and then I clicked on it and it was fan art, and my mind went blank and I saw red. That's what happened to me, okay? Trout Dealer, Gruff, and 4K Bunny Entity, thank you for the tier 1 subs. Really appreciate that. Thank you. B Bird 205, thank you for the very kind $20. Trump about to roll up in a black robe and spit some shit about how the woke mind virus left him scarred and deformed. I don't think he says woke mind virus. Yeah, I know a lot of people were really hoping that that he would show up looking like a enfeebled half corpse, but unfortunately, we'll have to wait a little longer for that. Egg Squirt, thank you for the tier 2 sub. I have not played chapters 3 and 4 of Deltarune, only 1 and 2, which I enjoyed, but it's been a while since I played them. Please no free run talk. I was starting to remember how in love I was before the demon stuff. Did you dislike the demon stuff? I thought the demons were great. I don't have an issue with them at all, like in free run. I mean, obviously racists are going to go like, yeah, those inhuman monsters are exactly like, you know, people who are only 99.99% DNA match with me, but still good. I'm a famous hater of evil race and fantasy. I agree, but they're not even a race. They're magical creatures. That I'm fine with, you know? Like they're not like a species that propagates like normally. They're literally magical monsters. Yeah, like doom demons, you know? Ring Egg, thank you for the tier 1 sub. Really appreciate that. Tane, thank you for the tier 2 sub. I got put on furlough because Christine was too busy tweeting, but hey, I'm back now. Welcome back. Mean Farmer, thank you so much for the incredibly kind tier 4 sub. Thank you, thank you. Another 3 months down, hopefully the last 3 months before the BBO arrives. BBO. BBL? Yes. Sorry, Mean Former. I have no idea what that is, but nonetheless, I really appreciate it. Enjoy your yellow name. Not Alpaca, thank you for the $5. Seriously, what's wrong with JJK's writing? I like the character writing. At least to me, it's Diet Mob Psycho. And even that is really above average. I think that JJK is pretty much entirely aura and hype moments. Basically, no room is given for any kind of character development outside the context of the like fight arcs. Like they fixated in on what they know people want to see, but there's none of those quiet moments that allow for any kind of character growth. Also, the main trio never do anything as a trio, you know? I don't feel like they have a meaningful rapport, really. They never really do anything as a group. Yeah, it does feel like one of those shows where character growth is measured by power level upgrades, you know? Yes, I'm seeing Dun Dun. I saw that, Jesse. Darth Death Metal, thank you for the very kind $20. Long-time lurker, first-time dono. I'm an Indian in the U.S. and fuck my life. I suffer huge secondhand embarrassment from Indian people's behavior online. Terribly sorry. It's okay, buddy. Trust me. American expats get that kind of shit all over the world. So it's a unifying experience. All right. It's really just because India has so many internet active English speakers. You know, so many. Not Alpaca, thank you for the $5. Defensiveness of Clanker is like regular show chicken wings and saying it isn't an alcohol thing. It's okay to want a dopamine rush without consequence of something harmful. Regular show chicken wings. Maybe I haven't seen regular show in like recently enough. I don't really recall what the analog is there. Do they use chicken wings as an analog for alcohol in regular show? Luminiris, thank you for the tier 1 sub. Some Hornet Doodles as I'm feeling the Silk Song excitement. Aw, cute. I saw some really cute Silk Song fan art earlier where they're saying goodbye to the knight, and the knight's a ghost because he's a void creature now. It's kind of sad looking. Sake, thank you for the 5 tier 1 subs. Glad I put the money to use here, removing the white name Scourge. Imagine wasting 100 white name removal power in a super chat. Can't deny it. Can't deny it. Kowalski, thank you for the $5. Hope you and your partner have a wonderful reunion in your spotless home. We might have a frost this week in the Great Lakes region. Could spike grain prices. Fun, fun. Hope you don't lose crop. Ristil, thank you for the $10. I've been watching you since 2021 from Switzerland. Just wanted to thank you for all the work. Cheers from the Olympic capital. Thank you. Hope you're having fun up there with your, spotless crime-free cities. Built on Nazi gold. I know your secrets. You piece of shit. Oh, there are a lot of super chats. I've already gone way longer than I expected to. I was going to hope to do a little bit more cleanup before leaving. Melgart, thank you for the 10 Brazilian real. Thank you, thank you. First day of Bolsonaro's sentencing in the better democracy. For now, things change fast. Also, look at Alexander de Moraes from Center-Right Fiend Judge Democracy Hero. I can't look at anything right now, but I am familiar with Alexander, right? Wasn't he the one, your Supreme Court justice who was beefing with Trump and with like Miller and stuff? Pale Magpie and Kuzunoha, thank you for the $5 and pounds both. I very much appreciate it. Enter for none. Thank you for the 100 pesos. So sad. Anyway, what's good, chat? I'm having breakfast late, but still so yummy, yummy. Yummers. See, does that sound like a free run demon to you? Incapable of emotion or attachment? I don't think so. Rico, still alive, and Say D'ailleurs Productions. Thank you for the $5 all. Really appreciate that. If I was the reporter, I'd keep him on the topic of cancer so we can all enjoy seeing him freaking out about it. He does get weird about death these days. I think that's a pretty common, like, old person thing, but still, it is pretty funny to watch. Ethan Davis, Pale Magpie, and Der Dragon Warrior, thank you for the $2 and pounds all. Dude, I'm falling apart. My body knows it's time for me to go. Dan Halen, thank you for the $5. Another odd state, Utah. Solid red, but the Mormons fund the fuck out of the arts. Utah is one of the best ballet companies and orchestras. Yeah, Mormons are weird. Evil, but maybe, in some respects, preferable to the evangelicals. Utah is very strange state. And Kuzunoha, thank you for the $10. Here in Colorado, we also have the best trans/queer protections in the U.S., legal psychedelics, and some of the highest racial and cultural diversity in Aurora and Denver than most U.S. cities. I did hear that in Aurora, an apartment building got taken over by Tren de Aragua, though, so, you kind of take the good with the bad, right? Joan Bolt, thank you for the $20. What's the over-under on him having kicked the bucket today? Got bad news for you, buddy. I only read this now. I mean, could still happen later in the day, right? I wish you'd condemn the church rather than the Mormons generally. Yeah, but I also say evangelicals broadly, Also, I've met Mormons, What is a church if not a bunch of people? Pale Magpie and Victorious Gardenosaurus, thank you for the $5 both. Really appreciate that. Where's Poochie and Victorious Gardenosaurus again? Thank you for the $2.79 Canadian and $2. Joan Bolt, thank you for the very kind $50. I've never seen this man speak less in front of any camera in his damn life. He did pick it up towards the end there for quite a bit. I think that they were uncertain about his health, but it's not dire, At least not now. I'm still very confident that he had a stroke this past week. It's really just a matter of, like, what persistent health consequences there are. He still has the bruising, the swollen ankles, you know. We'll see how quickly it deteriorates. Being president does age you, you know. Thank you very much, Joan Bull. VD with the 6 euros. This could have been an email. I bet they wish it could have been either. Or I bet they also wish it could have been, yeah. Garrison Ball, thank you for the $10. Focusing on the window gives him the opportunity to respond to tough questions, IMO. On the window? Oh, the White House window, yeah. Yeah, I think so. Those were definitely some very pre-screened questions. Not unusual for this White House, but, you know, definitely worth keeping in mind. Where's Poochie? Pale Magpie again, thank you. And High Shell, thank you for the $5 and pounds all. Third world have the most tariffs despite protections disproportionately benefiting the fatheads. Countries develop best by opening trade. Example, Botswana. Yeah, well, protectionist policies can be good if you're trying to, like, develop and cultivate local industry, but obviously that's not happening here in the US, so, you know, it's mostly just punitive, it seems. A few days ago, I live in the San Fernando Valley, and Vanoy is an asphalt shithole. There's nothing to preserve. Build more apartments. God, I wish we would. Benjamin Gilbert Liff, thank you so much for the incredibly kind $500 donation. Thank you, thank you. Since Chad has correctly identified a critical gap in your academic knowledge of Star Wars, this would be a good time to watch Andor. Let me just mark my Andor delay to watch calendar back by another $500, 500 days. Nah, I'm probably going to watch with my partner sometime soon. If I'm going to force myself to watch Star Wars, it needs to be with someone that I can, like, you know, fuck while watching. I need them bouncing on it crazy style while we're doing the political intrigue. Okay, dude. That's not watching? Yeah, maybe. Do you not like Star Wars? I don't know. The original trilogy is good. I mean, look, I'm not that much of a hater. I don't know. I'm a big hater of yeah. No, I've been a Star Trek kiddie my entire life. It really does just feel like Star Wars just happened to one-shot a bunch of Gen Xers back in the 70s. And as a consequence, now it's like permanent Western culture we all have to live with, you know? The original trilogy was great, and a bunch of people got fucking destroyed by it. And then everything after that, all of the adjacent media, the prequel trilogy, the Disney buyout, the sequel trilogy, it's like, it's just forever. And it will always be forever now. It'll always be forever now, you know? It's not even about it being lefty. It's just one of the best written and most powerful shows ever written. I'm not kidding. I wouldn't lie about Star Wars. I have heard people speak positively of it. People I respect. I don't think it's bad. My favorite piece of Star Wars media was the Gen Tartakovsky Clone Wars 5-minute shorts, and they made it non-canon. What the fuck? That was like the main shit I liked about Star Wars. I think you'll also appreciate how good the costume and set design are. Okay, I'm sorry to be like, hold on. I'm sorry to be that guy for a second. I have seen some screenshots of Andor that made me really... Star Wars has always been good about this, okay? There are so many sci-fi franchises where all of the clothing people wear in the future is made out of plastic. Like, everything is this weird, unrealistic, shiny... It looks flimsy. It looks like the costumes you'd see in like a Power Rangers episode, you know? It's really unconvincing. And Star Wars has always done a really good job, in my opinion, of costuming, because they tend to incorporate a lot more... Sorry, I'm not trying to do a bit here. Like, natural-looking fabrics. Every screenshot I've seen of Andor has made me think, oh, this looks like a real place. Like, I just found a screenshot. Like, when I see this, my thought is like, oh, that could be real, you know? And I appreciate that a lot. It's one of the things that I really liked about the original series, which was that everything, the original trilogy, which is that everything looked really like beat down and worn in. And it was like, yeah, I could see the Millennium Falcon being like a real thing, you know? And then you watch the prequel trilogy and everything is like glossy CG. It's not even about the griminess. It's like, how do I put this? Okay. How do I put this? Okay, I have never liked the original Jedi robes. Like, here's Qui-Gon Jinn, and I'm choosing him because I know this has to be before the fall of the Republic, right? I've never liked them. Because this, to me, seems like how they would dress after the fall of the Republic. Like, this is like the ragtag monastic wardrobe of like you know, like Jedi in hiding after Order 66 or whatever, you know? But the problem is like the Jedi are super powerful. Like they have advisory roles on Coruscant. They're all over the galaxy. I don't think they would dress like this. They were barely monastic in the prequel trilogy. Like, I get it, okay? It's just, there were a bunch of design choices that in the prequel trilogy seemed to me like George was just trying to ape what was popular in the original trilogy. And to me, it always made it look like they were wearing a costume. Like, every time I saw Qui-Gon or Obi-Wan, you know, again, before the fall of the Republic, whatever, I would look at them and it always just looked like a guy wearing a robe. I never thought like, that's a fucking Jedi. I never thought that. But I'm only going off the damn movies. You know? I have a thing for this, but it's going off the ships. You know who did look good? Luke Skywalker old. They did a good job with that, in my opinion. Wait, hold on. Now I'm looking at him and now I don't like it. Maybe that was just in my memory. Sorry. I thought I was going to make a point there. Never mind. I don't know. I guess when I look at this, I just see a costume design. And when I look at this, I see like, oh, that's like an outfit, if that makes any sense. I don't know. I need to move the fuck on. I'm getting distracted again. Like, very, very, very distracted. Thank you, Benjamin, for the incredibly kind donation. I do intend on watching it. Still live, the $2. Yeah, but seriously, fuck the orcs, though. Yeah, this is why it fucking peeves me, the orc thing, like that some NAFO types call Russians. Because I feel like that, I often see that really consistently slip into the more essentialist kind of bigotry. If a person wants to be performatively bigoted against Russians when their country is being invaded, I'm not going to blame them. If a Ukrainian wants to be like, dude, Russians, fuck these fucking people, man, I'm not going to like, they're literally getting bombed, you know? But then when you start equating these like subhuman parallels, I just, you know, I see where that goes, or I've seen where that goes, or what that, it's people in Belgium, not people in Ukraine. Good point. Jedi outfit during the peak of their power. Okay, I'm not getting into the extended shit. No. I know how deep this fucking rabbit hole goes. I'm not doing this. Pale Magpie, thank you for the 2 5-pound donos. You could point out in Star Wars the clankers are a sentient robotic underclass basically treated as slaves. Droids feel pain and get tortured. My point being they didn't make clanker a racial slur. It was always a racial slur in universe and out of universe contextually. That's a really good point. Yeah, that is absolutely a good point. Thank you. And with the additional 10 pounds, Pale Magpie, you're being very kind to me. Vosh, let's not all be bigots. Vosh's chat, but if I can't be racist against real people and I can't be racist against imaginary people, who am I supposed to be racist against? You can be racist against both. I'm just saying be cool about it, okay? Holly, thanks you for the €2. David Stowe and Neo Clanker, thank you for the $5 both. Hey, Vosh, was awesome to meet you on the street outside PAX. Hope you had a great time and got to play Silksong. Oh, I didn't try. I don't like playing demos. If I sat down to play a bit of Silksong, I'd want to play all of Silksong. Thank you. Well, it was yeah, absolutely, yeah, 100%. It was a good time. German Ajari, thank you for the €10. A lot of Euro donations today, like a disproportionate number of Euro donations today. The South Park bit about Canadians was the same as clankers being racist against a group that nobody hates just because it's fun to be racist. True. I mean, I guess it's just a matter of like how much it parallels over into the real world, or how much people kind of translate it into actual bigotry. You started early? Kane 111, thank you for the $5. I recall in Final Fantasy XI, I was sick of goblins murking me. I tried to go in a goblin genocide vampire hunter D style. I did not succeed, however. I did not play Final Fantasy XI, but I think that you should have the legal right to engage in goblin genocide in Final Fantasy XI if you choose to. I only ask that you do so thoughtfully. Pale Magpie, thank you for the £2. Much appreciated. All right, folks. I had to go a while ago. Take care. Oh, also, look at this shirt. Look, I had this pattern before, but in a different fabric, and I like this fabric a lot more. It does make me wonder if I got the shirt too big, though. You know? Like, this shirt's a little large on me. Maybe I should get it one size down. All right, take care.